It's going to take about a minute. Horrible news day, so bear with me. Breaking news out of Minnesota is what we're... And this is the day of the military parade. Sounds like Minnesota has already canceled the No King's Day protest in that state. So this is a bad day. Wow. This is the day we're supposed to be honoring our military. We've had what amounts to a terrorist attack. Attack number one. It's still early in the day. Still very early in the day. Most of the gatherings have not took place yet. So I'm going to put emphasis on this could be attack number one. But we've already had a terrorist attack and people have lost lives. So bear with me as I get my other streams up. And I just want to kind of hear from you folks. This is the world we live in. Political violence. Political violence. I think we should be able to go live here momentarily. Just want to make sure I got everything right here. Oh, shoot. Let's see. Okay, I think we're going to be going live in 3, 2, 1. Okay, that does look good. That looks good. Camera 3. All right, so, wow. All right, going live in 3, 2, 1. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. This is a very unfortunate day. I just want to make sure I get my Wi-Fi going here so that all of the streams hold up through this broadcast. So I'll give you what I got. Now we already know today is supposed to be the what do you want to call it? The celebration for the military from President Trump, as well as this so-called No King's Day protest, and I mean protest plural, because the No King's Day stuff is supposedly happening all over the country. But we've been interrupted by something that's considerably worse. And we're going to talk about this from a notion of, I guess right off the bat, I would ask is, should the protest, should the parade, should this stuff continue? We had a representative by the way of Melissa Hortman. You see on the screen behind me, the female, her name is Melissa Hortman. And next, she is a representative out of the state of Missouri. So she's a state politician. Next to her, you see Senator John Huffman. He's also a state senator out of the state of Minnesota. Not Missouri, Minnesota, excuse me. Both of these politicians are out of Minnesota. Brooklyn Park area, kind of around where George Floyd's deal took place. And then there was also another officer that I believe she was yelling taser, and she shot somebody. So you've got some controversial cases out of the Minnesota area. But these two politicians resided near that. Anyhow, it's still breaking all over the news. Earlier this morning, somebody went into both of their homes and attempted to kill them both. I want you to hear, I'll give you the details because it'll make a lot more sense coming from them than coming from yours truly, but we're gonna discuss a few things in regards to this. This is likely political violence, but we'll talk about it.
We're starting off this morning with a breaking situation. An alert was sent out just a couple of hours ago by the Brooklyn Park Police Department about 5:30 this morning. You're looking at it there. They issued a shelter-in-place alert for the 3-mile radius around the Edinburgh Golf Course. Police say they are looking for a suspect in multiple targeted shootings. The suspect is believed to be armed and dangerous. He is a white male with brown hair wearing black body armor over a blue shirt and blue pants, and he may be impersonating law enforcement. Residents are told not to approach him and instead to call 911. Again, that.
Now, real quick, you see they're talking about they're looking for a white male. Now, this news here has actually evolved. This is a little bit old because it's been confirmed. What took place is basically what amounts to a hitman went to the home of First, he went to the home of the female you see here, Melissa Hordman. This is what the police just released about a half hour ago. Went to the home of Melissa Portman. She's a state representative in Minnesota, and he was dressed in full police garb. Now, it is a white male, and he did have access to a police cruiser or a look-alike that even had the actual working flashing lights. And this took place somewhere in the wee hours of the morning. I believe they said about 4 o'clock in the morning. So while actually impersonating an officer, he was able to gain access to her home, where he ended up shooting both her and her husband. Now, the guy featured in this photo is not her husband. I haven't found photos of her husband yet, but he did take both of their lives. Her being the politician and her spouse that was at home. Both of them were shot and killed. Now, during the investigation in regards to what happened to her, one of the police sergeants noted that we have another politician that live in this area, and let's just go check on that politician because somebody just assassinated this one, or at least at that time it was an attempted assassination. She has now passed on. Her husband was dead on the scene. So they decided to go to the home of John Hoffman. He's the state senator you see pictured next to her. Lived in a different location, different spouse, of course. When they arrived at his home, they encountered they noticed the police cruiser was on the property. And they saw an officer walking out of the house, where the officer immediately started shooting at the police that were arriving there. Now, he's been able to escape, and they've been looking for him. But when they went into the home, once again, they found the senator here, John Hoffman, and his wife shot as well. They're in the hospital fighting for their lives. So we got 4 individuals that have been hit. 2 are deceased. 2 are fighting for their lives. 2 are politicians. They're all Democrats. I want to make that clear to you. So if you're wondering what the party affiliation is, they're all Democrats. So I'm going to ask you folks this, and like I said, it's in the Brooklyn Park area. This is where Floyd and some of the other stuff I believe happened in that area. So it's a Democratic area. Minnesota's a Democratic city, or state rather. And we know Minneapolis is a Democratic. It's all blue. But anyway, 2 of these folks shot in their homes in the wee hours of the morning. Their spouses are shot as well. Melissa Hortman on the left here, or whatever side of the screen it's on whichever camera you're watching, she has passed on. And so has her husband. She is a mother of, I believe she has at least 2 children. So she is a mother, and she has passed on. So what I'm going to ask right off the bat is, should they cancel the gatherings we're having? Should the military parade be canceled? Should Minnesota has canceled their No King's Day protest. They have canceled it. Because the reason why I'm asking this is obviously an act of terror. You want to call it political violence, whatever you want to call it, but obviously an act of terror. And the reason I'm bringing it up in conjunction with asking should we cancel the parades is this could be just the first one. I mean, there's going to be actual large gatherings of people all over this country. Can you not think of a more perfect time to do something? Driving cars through crowds, firearms, you name it. Randomly planted explosives, you name it. Should these gatherings be canceled? I'm just going to ask you folks that. But real quick before we continue, because I got another topic I want to run by you as well. Just a daunting day to be on here, which is why I'm on here so damn early. It's just not a good day. But here's what came in originally, just so you'll get a more of an update as opposed to what I'm telling you.
Welcome back. We have an update to the breaking news situation that we have been following all morning. We have confirmed from sources that 2 Minnesota state lawmakers have been shot, Representative John Hoffman and Representative Melissa Hortman. We do not know their condition at this point. We know that these are involved in the 2 situations that we've been following in Champlin and Brooklyn Park, where each of them live. We are working to get more information on all of this just as soon as we can. But again, 2 Minnesota lawmakers shot this morning confirmed by our sources, Senator John Hoffman of Champlin and Representative Melissa Hortman of Brooklyn Park.
Okay, she doesn't give the description. Like I said, all of this news is still evolving. Right now in that area, they've been told to shelter in place because the killer is on the loose, and he's in a police uniform. So what they're saying, what they've announced is if the police knock at your door, do not answer it unless they're in pairs. So they're not allowing one cop to try to to address the public at all. If you're being addressed by a police officer, it needs to be at least two. They're telling you on television, don't even answer your door if the cops are at it. So that's going to hurt the relationship, at least for today, with the way people view police. But in regards to hurting the relationship with how people view police, 58 seconds I want to run by you. This clip is 58 seconds long. I want you to hear this. This is coming out of Florida. If you haven't heard it already, in my opinion, it's disturbing.
If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and then jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play.
Do you think this same gentleman would have felt that way in regards to what happened on January 6th? I'm just going to be honest with you. Do you think he would have felt, because most of the stuff he is stating there, from spitting to interfering with progress, beating, all of that happened there that day. Do you think he would have felt the same way and said that same stuff? I just want to, because this is essentially political violence coming from law enforcement. Now, let's be clear. If you are throwing bricks or something that is deadly at law enforcement, that could be a lethal threat. I'm not going to pretend like throwing a brick or a piece of stone or cinder block at a cop does not pose a deadly threat. However, the language of this officer is what is notable, because police are trained to stop the threat, not kill. He's not saying that, he's not speaking in terms of stopping the threat. He's speaking in terms of deliberately imposing harm with the intent of killing. Graveyard dead. That's not stopping the threat. Keep in mind, you could literally throw a rock, stone, or cinder block at a cop, and even though that is a lethal toss, that might be the only rock you're holding in your hand. Once you don't have the rock in your hand anymore, are you still a deadly threat? So he is making it clear the goal is not to stop the threat. The goal is to kill. I just want to point out that this is the kind of stuff that harms the relationship between the public and police. I'm just going to tell you, because he is making it clear he is not interested in doing anything but harming people that get outside of the law. And like I said, I'm not defending anybody that's breaking the law, but this is not what the police are trained to do. The police are not trained to go around and murder lawbreakers. They're trained to stop the threat. Not once did he use the term stop the threat. He's talking about graveyard dead, sending you to the hospital and killing you. And there's no shortage of people who are like, hooray, thank God we have murderous police in charge again. A lot of folks are actually supporting this. I'll tell you this, before we start taking calls and making the program work, and like I said, you guys know how the damn program is ran. You can be critical of anybody on this program, including yours truly. So if you don't think I'm speaking the right shit, damn it, when you come up, when you're in the comments, make that known. We don't block, ban, or censor you for your commentary. But I'm just going to tell you, this language, it has no place. It has no place in law enforcement. Because if something were to happen and this guy was on the other side of the trigger, would you really believe that he only took a life because he had to when he's talking like that? Does he sound like the kind of guy who would only take a life when it's absolutely necessary? He's literally talking about if you get in front of a car. He didn't say you might be run over. He said you will be ran over and dragged through the street. Does he really sound like he would only take a life if absolutely necessary? Folks, the reason why we're going through this shit is because we have this selfish mindset in America of, I don't give a fuck what goes on as long as it don't happen to me. And all of this is okay as long as it's not happening to me. The moment this stuff starts happening to you, someone you care about, or even your political party affiliation, you suddenly have all the lights come on in the house and it's time to do something about it. But as long as it's happening to someone else or them people over there, it is 100% okay, and you even might cheer it on. So we're going to go ahead and start taking calls. I don't know what else to say other than, should we cancel the parade? Should we cancel the, I'm about to say stop the steal. Should we, not stop the steal. Should we cancel the, what the fuck is it called? No King's Day. Should that stuff be canceled? So continuing on with the program, looking in the comments, is Iran a parking lot yet? No, and neither is Israel, JD. Neither is Israel. And you know, that's the crazy thing with the Iran-Israeli war going on. There's so much going on. It's getting difficult to cover a single story. Keep in mind, less than a week and a half ago, Elon Musk was accusing Trump of pedophilia. That's been wiped away from the news. Been completely wiped away from the news. So much stuff has happened, it feels like Elon suggested that Trump was on the Epstein list 6 months ago. And it's barely been 10 days ago. So much happens in the era of Trump. We got 3.5 more years to party. Do you really want to get up and dance? We got 3.5 more years of this. Do you really want to get up and dance? So look at it in the comments real quick. Democrats need to just sit down or move. Well, apparently 2 of them have been sat down.
Stop.
Have been sat down permanently. If you've seen what we started the program talking about with these 2 individuals being assassinated. He sounds like he would enjoy hurting people. The danger is they are the ones judging your, what if they're wrong? Yeah, I do believe that sheriff sounds like he would enjoy harming people. I really believe that. Sounds like a little bit worse than Grady Judd in the same state. Going straight to the box, we'll go to D Blue. Good evening, the Blue. Welcome to the program. Wow. Do you think they should still have the gatherings all over this country? I mean, it's literally like the perfect opportunity for some serious violence, politically or terroristic. Now that we're clearly involved in the Israeli conflict as well. What say you, the Blue? Good morning.
I mean, I don't think we should have the parades anyways, but definitely with what's going on right now, yeah. It seems like it's not a very great idea.
And Trump is going to speak at the parade. You know you cannot put a microphone in front of Trump without him criticizing Democrats. So you know that will, I mean, it's a guarantee if you put a microphone in front of Trump, he's going to criticize Biden and Democrats. But on a day like today, so you don't believe the parade should happen at all?
No. I mean, I think what's going...
Dencal, thank you, Dencal. Go ahead.
We're in such a fucking crazy time right now, dude. I mean, this is authoritarianism 101. This parade, this, all the way they're treating migrants, the way they militarize the police, not even just against migrants, but against the, American citizens.
Big dog.
White American citizens, mind you.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody that goes to these protests. I saw a video just a little bit ago, and I'm sure you could find it too, where they...
Hold on, hang on one second. I want to read this, because this is a comment coming from another viewer. I'll let you continue, but this is so off the rails, I had to read it. Gen X, fuck around and find out. We are also on Instagram Live. On Instagram Live, the comment came in from Gen X, fuck around and find out. He says, cancel the parade because some liberals got taken out? Hell no, that's a great reason to have another parade. How do you respond to something like that?
This is MAGA right here. They're disgusting. They're fucking disgusting human beings. I'm sorry. We're going to end up in a civil war. And you know what's crazy is that civil war might come during World War III. That's the kind of situation we're in right now.
Wow.
Shit is fucking scary. I mean,
I will say this.
someone that wants to be a dictator. Not only do we have someone that wants to be a dictator, but that someone is fucking retarded. Like, I'm sorry, Donald Trump is a fucking clown.
Why do so?
He's an idiot.
But why do you think so many folks disagree with you? A lot of folks think that Trump is the best president we've ever had.
Because they're uneducated. Not even just, you know, schooling wise, but they're uneducated. They don't pay attention to what's going on. They pay attention to what comes out of his mouth. That's it. That's all they give a fuck about. They ignore everything else.
What has he done, in your opinion, to lead folks to ignore what he's saying? As you're saying, they're going to ignore him no matter what. What makes him better than, you know, Obama, better than Reagan, better than Bush? What's making him so great that people are willing to ignore this stuff?
That's the billion-dollar question right there. That's not something I can answer. I don't understand the mindset of these people. I've tried to understand, and I just don't get it, man. The thing I understand is they feel like they're raging against the machine. I get that. That's what the movement started as when Trump first ran.
Right.
But the problem is they don't realize that they have become the machine. That's exactly what's going on right now. This authoritarianism bullshit that they're allowing.
You raise a good point, because that is one of the main reasons folks have supported and voted for Trump, is that he's not an insider, he's not a typical politician. And I agree with you. They don't seem to realize he is a politician. He, as you say, he is the machine now. You don't like government. He is the representative of government at this point.
Yeah, and all these fools they're talking about don't tread on me, and you know, we need our guns for blah 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 blah, all this bullshit.
C. Osby. Go ahead. Thank you, C. Osby. Thank you. But go ahead.
They're lying to themselves.
What do you mean?
They're taking this tough guy position, like this don't tread on me, we need our guns to fight back against a tyrannical government. But then when it comes, they're like, oh yeah, well, as long as you don't take my guns, I'm fine.
You know something? I believe tyranny or an out of control government is simply what you disagree with. I think that if the government does the same thing, but they do it in your favor, you would applaud and cheer it on. I just think it's only when it's being done against what you believe should happen. But if the government got out of control, but they was doing exactly what you were in favor of, you'd be okay with it.
See, I'm not that type of person.
Yeah,
so,
but I mean, that's what we're dealing with. I think that's what we're dealing with right now.
An extreme bias, but it's, you know, we have rhinos and we have Democrats. Obviously, Democrats don't like Trump, and we have these rhinos that Trump complains about all the time, but they end up voting in favor of him.
At this point, I no longer even know what the hell a rhino is, other than you don't agree with Trump while calling yourself a Republican. That's all. If you are a Republican and you don't agree with Trump, you're a rhino.
It's a true conservative is what it is. But the problem is these true conservatives get shit on now because, you know, Donald Trump calls them rhinos. So,
yeah.
But the problem is they still vote on bills in favor of him, because those bills, we don't have straightforward bills. They pack a whole bunch of bullshit in these bills. So much shit that you don't even want to read it. So it might have something for parks and recreation that seems good, and then have something about fucking, you know, detaining people without due process somewhere in there. This is just an extreme example.
Well, I mean,
they pack these bills.
But I mean, that ain't something new in the Trump era. I mean, when they were trying to pass Obamacare, I remember Nancy Pelosi saying, we got to pass the bill, didn't read what's in it. So, I mean, we've always had bills packed with a bunch of pork.
I agree. What I'm saying is we need to get Democrats and Republicans, these rhinos, so to speak, that Trump calls them, to work together and stop with these fucking ridiculous phony bills.
So, is there, in your opinion, is there any, I mean, because Trump has only got 3.5 years. Is there any coming back from this? The America we knew, let's say even under, as quote unquote, Sleepy Joe, that people did not like, but that America we knew going out in the fall and winter of last year. After Trump is gone, is there any hope to going back to that, or is Trump making permanent changes so that America going forward is something else that we may not recognize?
Well, that depends. Does Trump retain his presidency after the fact?
Well, does he?
That's what I wanted to bring up too. That's what it really seems like is going on. It really seems like they're pushing as hard as they possibly can for martial law. Look at all. I mean, there's so much shit going on across the country in multiple states. These deaths you're talking about, these riots. That's what I was going to bring up earlier too. Is they
Are anybody dying in these? I haven't heard anybody dying in these things though.
I'm talking about the assassinations you were talking
Oh,
about.
well, yeah, that just happened this morning. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but there was a protest going on. I believe it was in Minnesota, but I'd have to check into that. But I saw a video just a little bit ago of some protests where the police were arresting people before they were doing anything, and then they claimed that they were arresting them before they would start a riot. You can't do that.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do it. I'm hearing.
Freedom of protest.
Yeah, and that's what. And Trump already said that if protesters get out of hand, they're going to be hit hard or something to that nature, met with strong force. I'm hearing states like Nebraska, for instance, organize their National Guard, and I'm thinking that is just heavy-handed tactics. There's ain't shit going on in Nebraska that you need to proactively bring the National Guard out for. But the governor of Nebraska has already called in National Guard troops. Like, who the hell's going to be protesting like that in Omaha and Lincoln? I mean, that is a blood red state. They're not going to, whatever protest they have against No Kings is not going to get out of hand in Nebraska for them to be doing that. So it sounds like it's what you're talking about, where they're getting proactive on the clamping down.
Yeah, it's a direct attack on the First Amendment, in my opinion. It's freedom of protest. Like, where did we get so, like, is it the fact that they're not teaching that shit in school anymore? Like, what is going on?
No, I don't think it's that they're not. I mean, we know our education can be lacking in a lot of areas, but I don't think it's the lack of education. I think it's working for our side. So we don't care if it goes against the traditional rules. It's working. So keep doing this shit. I got to move it on, no dip blue, but I think that's what it is. I think it's a matter. And I'm not going to pretend like the liberals wouldn't be okay with violating a few rules here and there as well if it would work in their favor. That's what I think is happening, is the rules are working in people's favor and they're willing to bend them as long as that happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if Trump doesn't end up forcing martial law and just retaining the position, Jon Stewart 2028.
You think Jon Stewart, you think at this point, man, anybody who announces they're going to run probably needs to have security already around them. D Blue, thanks for coming through. All right, appreciate it. All right, tap the screen, folks. This is I'm gonna run it like a normal live, but and I don't know how much comedy or glee, or happiness is going to be in this. Is a pretty awful day, but tap the screen anyway. It helps out the algorithm, brings in more MAGA. You know how the program is ran. We don't block, ban, or censor anybody, but yeah, tap the screen, get the likes on up to about 20,000. Taco is trying to take away the freedom to protest, says JPT Farms. Take away the freedom to protest. You lose the freedom to protest, it's over with. It's over with, because that means anything that's being done wrong, you can't even speak out against it. If you lose the freedom to protest, it's over with. That means any heinous actions by the government can actually literally be done in silence, because you don't have the right to speak out against it. Anywhere you start showing up to speak out, well, if it's illegal to protest, you can't say shit. So you could really harm a lot of people, because without the ability to protest, most of America would not know about it. Like, let's take something like George Floyd. I know half of my audience believe he died of COVID or fentanyl, but let's just take what happened in George Floyd's case, since it's probably one of the most recently known, well-known cases where people were protesting. Imagine if you didn't have the right to protest during that era. Imagine how much smaller the audience would have been of people that were aware of what happened to them. You wouldn't have known about it. You would not have known. A lot of people learned about that through the media, through social media, YouTube postings, people protesting and speaking out against it. If you take away the right to protest, you don't know what happens to people. You can do any damn thing you want. And no, literally the cops, let's say Derek Chauvin, for instance, in an environment where nobody can protest, Derek Chauvin could have literally looked at all of the bystanders and said, remember, you ain't seen shit. And that's the way it would have been. Anyway, going back to the box, it's not illegal to protest. It's illegal to cause destruction of property. Keep it 100, says Stevie D. No, it can be illegal to protest too, Stevie. If you start imposing martial law saying you can't be out here at past 9 o'clock, you can't gather in groups more than 10, you can make it illegal to protest without violence happening. You just have to be able to change a few rules. Look, last time y'all got together, you were throwing rocks and doing violent shit, destroying properties. I'm going to propose legislation that from now on, no more than 5 people be allowed to gather in this area, and they only can do it between this period of time. You think MAGA wouldn't agree with that if they were protesting liberal causes? You think you couldn't get a bunch of MAGA to agree with that? You can actually outlaw protesting without having to commit a crime at all. Let me go back to the box real quick. Do you really think it's just the first ever phony bill to occur? I don't know what you're talking about there. Dencal, good evening. Welcome to the program, Dencal. Should the No King's Day protest, should that stop with what's going on? What say you, Dencal? Good afternoon.
You said should it stop?
Yeah.
Why would it stop? It's going on right now.
It sounds like you might be involved in something there.
Yeah, why would it stop? We're protesting because we don't want a king. I don't understand what the problem with saying that is. We're headed towards a monarchy. Everybody sees it. And they out here protesting peacefully. We had there was a message that was strong. It said, no violence, don't be in the street, don't interfere. We just, thousands of people down here in our one little demonstration, and they got thousands of them across the United States.
What kind of sign? I'm just curious. What kind of signs are you seeing out there?
Trump is an abomination to our nation. No kings now or ever. If you are reading this sign, I don't need to explain why I'm at a No Kings rally.
Damn. Wow. Okay. So it is under.
Where law ends, tyranny begins. Stars and stripes, equal rights. Not then, not now.
How do you respond? 'Cause I got a sign for you. How do you respond to someone on the other side? Dirty Money in the comments in cap says, "We own you libs." How do you feel? How do you respond to something like that? Now this is a fellow American citizen saying, "We own you libs."
Right. That's the deep-seated something in his brain that has an attachment to the people who enslaved us. To be able to say you own somebody, it's a deep-seated sick mentality in them. And while I'm saying that, I want to say that I have lost all respect for Gen X, and I will not be having any more conversations and chucking and jiving with him anymore.
Wow.
When he's talking shit about people who just got assassinated and he thinks that shit is fucking funny, I wish he was right here. I'll leave it at that.
I understand.
That's disgusting.
It was a strong point. Now I'm trying to see if I've seen the comment because I don't know if somebody else heard it, but he was basically saying that what he says. He was basically saying that you shouldn't cancel the parade because some liberals got assassinated. He says, hell no, that's a great reason to have another parade. So that does sound as though he's celebrating basically the wrongful loss of life of these two politicians.
Come on, Tim. We're not gonna fluff with that. He is saying.
No, I mean,
sound like
yeah, he's celebrating. Like I said, anybody I will just say this because he's not the only one. I had folks on YouTube that were somewhat echoing the sentiment. Now, remember when Trump there was an attempted assassination on him, and how wrong it was for liberals to celebrate that, or even Nancy Pelosi's husband, which the right. I mean, we are starting to celebrate people being harmed now. That does seem to be the norm.
They're taking all of this stuff as we trying to fight to keep Hispanic people in the country and murderers and criminals and stuff. But now we see on the streets of America 2 white politicians get assassinated.
Well, so far the one on the right has not passed away, but the woman on the left, Melissa Hortman, she's a representative. Her and her husband their lives were taken at the home there. So I don't know about the other guy here, John Hoffman, a senator on the right there. He's still fighting for his life, him and his wife, because they went in there and tried to kill both of them too.
They went into their home?
Yeah, this happened in the wee hours of the morning. The guy is dressed up as a cop, and right now there's a whole stand-in-place order in the Minneapolis area where this happened, because they didn't live that far from each other, about 5 miles from each other. And when they went to the woman's home, after getting calls and found what happened to this woman, one of the police sergeants just on a whim said, "We got other politicians in this area. Let's just go check on them." And that's when they went to the home of John Hoffman there, the guy on the right there, and they saw what looked like a police cruiser on his property. And the cop started immediately firing at the cops that were showing up. But he was in uniform, bulletproof vest, all of that stuff. Had a yellow taser. He had all of the equipment on. You know, he was dressed like a cop. And his car had the lights and everything. So, now we don't know if it was a cop, if it was somebody impersonating the cop, or maybe it was an actual cop that just didn't like him.
Right, and there's going to be all kinds of excuses from MAGA, and it'll probably even be pressure on Trump to damn pardon these people. That's how sick we are right now.
What are the chances, though, that this wasn't? Is it possible that the alleged assassin here, well, not alleged, he killed him. Is it possible that the assassin might be a liberal?
It's possible, but whatever it is, just like Gen X said, as long as it's a Democrat, they fine with it.
Yeah.
Trump won't differentiate between you being a Democrat or a Republican if you aid in his cause. You see all of these people he's pardoning. They all Democrats from his past. He don't care about none of that shit as long as you helping him out.
Well, Trump will speak today at the parade. Do you think there's a chance, considering what's going on with all of the protests, with now 2 lawmakers, one being assassinated? You think there's a chance he'll keep it more civil? Maybe not take this day to criticize liberals and the Democrats and Biden?
Bro, if he did the same thing after they tried to assassinate him, what do you think they're going to do if they try to assassinate other people?
I guess I hadn't thought of that.
There's zero chance that he's not going to dig in and say it's the Democrats' fault for getting killed.
Do you think
if the Democrats would just shut up and just allow me to be the king, none of this would be happening.
So you believe it's possible that Trump may actually accuse the Democrats in their rhetoric as to why this actually happened? That the Democrats are getting out of hand?
100%.
Wow.
100%. He's going to blame the victims.
Jesus. That would be horrible. And by the way, folks, tap the screen, get the likes on up to 20,000. Now, I want you to hear this. I'm sure you've heard it already, but other folks that are watching may have not heard it in its entirety. And I want to get your opinion on this. I'm sure you've heard at least clips of it, if not the whole thing.
Resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired, because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail. and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play.
Is it safe to protest near that guy?
We could take that same police officer and put him back into the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, and 50s, and he'd fit right in.
Yeah.
He would fit right in, and he would be the leader of the pack, sicking dogs on Martin Luther King and John Lewis. He would be right there at the front of the line. He would be one of them guys that would be standing there underneath a tree watching somebody swing. That's what I see. That's what I hear when I listen to that.
Yeah, I definitely hear somebody who seems less involved with law and order and more involved with punishment and misery. I mean, he like I mentioned before you came on, he looks like somebody who would not act as a last resort when it comes to taking a life, but might actually consider that to be the first resort. He just looks like he would take pleasure in doing it.
Yeah, I mean, by saying, now we all know that when people protest, people are going to be in the street. So giving people carte blanche, saying if somebody gets in the street and blocks you, you can run them over. That is what you were talking about earlier, taking away a person's right to protest. We understand civil disobedience makes things inconvenient for people. Like, yeah, your trip home, instead of taking 10 minutes, might have took 30 minutes because there was somebody protesting an issue that they care about. To say you could just run them over if you throw a brick,
Yeah, but what about the notion that, the fact that a brick or a rock or a cinder block, I mean, that is a potential deadly threat. You could kill someone. It takes the right circumstances for it to happen, but you hit somebody on the head at the right angle, the right speed, right weight of the block, it could take a life.
Okay, and so in that same situation, they're going to be there in what? Riot gear. Covered from head to toe with shields, masks. Nobody's throwing bricks at people who just a cop standing there.
Yeah.
That's an exaggeration. It's taking the context out of any type of protest. Like, this protest is going to go on from now until about 2 o'clock. After that, everybody out here is going home, but who might be out here? The agitators. So they're going to take this whole situation of a peaceful protest and say they were violent as hell out there in Augusta. They were throwing shit. The agitators are on their side. They don't want it to be peaceful. And if you go up into a group that's passionate about a cause and you start pushing them around, they're going to push back. That's just human nature. If they come out here right now with riot shields and say, everybody get off the damn street, it's going to be some people that take offense. And yeah, they're going to throw bottles, whatever they can, get their hand on. But that's an agitation to a riot.
Why do you believe...
What I don't like is when people come on here and everywhere and they say, oh, they having riots around the country. These are not fucking riots. These are peaceful protests for a good cause.
Well, wait a minute. They're not all 100% peaceful now, are they?
Well, you can't. See, that's what I'm saying. You're going to take the 1% that might not be peaceful because of agitation and put that label across everywhere. That's not what it is.
Yeah, but that's what happens then, Cal. I mean, hold on, even.
So that means January 6th was a love fest because a part of the protest was peaceful.
That's what I was going to tell you. If you're going to suggest that it's not a riot because the overwhelming majority of liberal protests are peaceful, most of the January 6th protesters were peaceful. Only the ones that went to the Capitol building got out of hand. A lot of people didn't go to the Capitol building.
Man, it was probably 100,000 people on the... What you mean they didn't go? Most of the people didn't go to the Capitol. Yes, they did. When he said, let's go down to the Capitol, probably 80 to 90% went down there, except for the people who probably couldn't walk that far.
Yeah, but I don't believe that most of them who went to the Capitol building did anything wrong, because a lot of them didn't even go inside. I mean,
That's true. And those people who did not go one side. Maybe some of the people who crossed those barriers might have gotten a fine or something. Those people that walked through those barriers and went through the fence did not go to jail.
So you're telling me you believe that most of the people that participated in the January 6th protest were committing at least trespassing, but you believe most of them committed some kind of violation?
Yeah, trespassing at the bare minimum. Yes.
I don't believe
Once
that.
they tore down that fence and they went further than that, that's trespassing.
I don't believe that. I believe that a large portion of them never went to the Capitol building as Trump instructed. I don't believe they all went there.
So when you look at the front view of the Capitol, and there's tens of thousands of people, where do you separate the line between somebody trespassing and not?
Well,
Did you have to go into the building to trespass, in your opinion?
I mean, if you're not, they had those horses up, those little metal gates. If you didn't go past them, you're not trespassing.
Okay, well, when you look at that picture, 90% of the people were past everybody that was up on the steps all the way back. Those horses were probably 100 yards from the Capitol.
Okay, I'd have to look at it because you pose an interesting point. I didn't think it was that many, and I thought it was very similar to the protests that we're dealing with in Los Angeles and things like that. Yeah, I think
that's totally different from this. That's an immigration protest. These are
no kings.
The actions of the president of the United States. That's why I don't want to get them confused. And when I put them on my post, I said, look, I'm out here to protest against a tyrannical government, not because of immigration, although I don't like the policies. That's not why we out here. These people are not out here because we want immigrants to be able to stay in the country. That's a whole nother separate situation.
Well, but if you're going to say he's being tyrannical, some of that is likely due to the immigration policies because he's storming into places where American citizens are and detaining them and I mean without warrants. I mean, so some of that is part of that.
Yeah, that's true. But now that we've extended past the immigrants. Now we've expanded to, I'm just gonna go in this meatpacking place and I'm gonna arrest every fucking body, and then we gonna check and see, or they pulling people over because they Hispanic and they saying, let me see your ID.
Yeah.
For no other reason except for you look Hispanic and you possibly fit the description. That is tyrannical. That is stop and frisk on steroids.
Yeah, they profiling the shit out of brown people right now. And certainly if you live in an area.
Guess what? A lot of black people can be confused as brown people.
Damn, thank God for a little bit of extra melon. Didn't Cal, I kind of moving on, but now you make me want to go outside and stay in the sun a little bit longer. But then again, I start looking fucking Haitian. I appreciate you calling in.
Right, you can't win, man. We can't win.
Well, maybe if we can talk to Sammy Sosa or Michael Jackson's doctor, there may be hope.
Yeah, I thought if I keep my military hat on, maybe they might tell, but shoot, they might think I'm faking it. Well, hell, the Marines arrested the damn guy, the active duty guy going to his VA appointment.
All right, enjoy that, man. Hopefully you get as much attendance as possible. I'll catch you on the next show, man. Thank you.
All right, talk to you soon.
Appreciate it. Oh, there's one person that is already at a No Kings Day gathering. So for folks who think it's not happening, there is one person already at one. Kyle T. Johnson, thank you for the super chat. I do apologize for the late response, but he says, good morning, Tim. The same thing goes back to your old or other live feed statement from yesterday. Trust no cop who covers up their faces. All bullshit. Yeah, I'm not a fan whatsoever of allowing law enforcement to go around hiding their identity from citizens. I'm not, to me, I think under the Trump administration, you're going to set back police and citizen relationships significantly. I think this stuff is going to really set back obviously the Hispanic community is not going to like law enforcement for a long time because so many folks that are not here illegally, that are not undocumented, that are actual citizens born and raised in this country have just a whole library of horror stories in their mind now. And a lot of that includes regular citizens being stopped and detained until they can prove they're an American. So the Hispanic community may emerge from all of this stuff with a relationship with police that's worse than black people by the time it's done. So we'll see. But allowing people to go around with no identifying characteristics other than just something that says police on them, this allows a lot of room for people to impersonate the cops and do wrong shit. Because you're actually telling the actual cops, you don't have to identify yourself. You got so many cops roaming around with a jacket on or a vest on that says ICE or says police, and then they're wearing a balaclava. It's normal. Remember I'll go to the box, and by the way, tap the screen, I'll take the next call at 25. Remember during the COVID era, how you had all kinds of folks committing robberies and shit because they could wear a mask and walk into anybody's pawn shop or gas station, and how dangerous that was for the shop owners? This is kind of the same damn thing. It's easy to go out and buy a piece of clothing or apparel that says police or ICE. You can buy that shit anywhere. During Halloween, you see it everywhere. So now you can wear something that says police on it and wear a complete mask, and it supposedly is normal that you're walking in schools, you're walking in business. Do you realize the opportunity for crime by allowing that to happen? So I want to point that out. My guess is you probably already got people that have committed acts, including what we're talking about today, including this case right here, where you got two politicians, one that has been assassinated because somebody decided to pose as a member of law enforcement and went to their house and killed. And by the way, both of these politicians are Democrats.
Welcome back. We have an update to the breaking news situation that we have been following all morning. We have confirmed from sources that 2 Minnesota state lawmakers have been shot, Representative John Hoffman and Representative Melissa Hortman. We do not know their condition at this point. We know that these are involved in the 2 situations that we've been following in Champlin and Brooklyn Park, where each of them live. We are working to get more information on all of this just as soon as...
Now that came in at 8 a.m., brother. 8 a.m. Central Time. So that news is now, what time is it now here? What does that say? Well, I got the wrong thing up there, but it's 11:23. So this is about 3 hours old. As you see, I listed it up there above. The woman has passed away. So at the time of that news story, it was still being released that she was fighting for her life. She has passed away, and it happened at her home in the wee hours of the morning. It said about 3 or 4 a.m. Somebody dressed in police garb, and they even had a police SUV. I don't know I don't know if the actual police markings were on it, but they said it had working lights and all of that. So showed up at her home in the wee hours of the morning, took her life and the life of her husband. That is not her husband pictured there. That is another state senator that lived less than 5 miles from her, who also encountered the same thing. A police assassin went to his home, shooting him and his wife. He is still currently fighting for his life, and so is his wife. But the woman you see pictured there, Melissa Hortman, has passed on, and so has her husband. She was taken to the hospital where she passed on. Her husband was dead at the scene. Going back to the box, we'll try it on Instagram for a minute if it comes up. Otherwise, we'll go right back to TikTok. Tap the screen, get the likes up to 25,000. Yeah, so they can get up to about 30,000. Looks like my last guest there, Hank Pittman or something like that, it won't come up. By the way, we're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on YouTube, if you will. Give your boy a subscription if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on TikTok and Instagram, follow the program. Going back to the bots, Miss Mo Betta, good afternoon, almost afternoon, Miss Mo Betta. Have you heard about this stuff? Have you heard about this yet, Miss Mo Betta? You got echo. You got a real bad echo.
I have an echo.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. I'll drop you if you can, Miss Mobetta. See if you have Bluetooth. If you have Bluetooth or something on, see if you can correct it, because you got some serious echo. Sherbert, good afternoon. By the way, Hank Pie or Hank Pitt 58. I was not, for some reason it didn't let me bring you up there on Instagram. I tried. Sherbert, good evening or afternoon.
How's it going, Tim?
Hey, and I see in the comments, hold on, before you continue on, I see one of my viewers, Kyle T. Johnson, thank you for the super chat, says the update is now stating that the guy died as well. So the guy pictured here has also passed on, said they just gave a press conference. So both of these people are now deceased, if what my viewer Kyle T. Johnson is saying. Both the senator and the representative have passed on. Go ahead there. So Sherbert, should the parade, should all these gatherings be canceled in light of this?
The ones in that state, absolutely.
They have
Everywhere
been.
else,
They have
not
been.
at all. Everywhere else should keep going because this is very sad and should be respected, but it also shouldn't understate how furious the nation is with being taken over by a fascist dictator.
Do you think, considering the fact that they were both Democrat politicians, do you think it's a, I mean, I hate to even have to ask this question, but do you think it's a politically motivated hit?
100%. There's no way this was at random when they were the two senators for that entire state.
Yeah. I kind of wonder, you know, it's making me wonder what they were involved in, because, it could be something that they were, you know, some kind of legislation or something they were trying to do. I mean, obviously, this area is not a pro-Trump area at all. So, any chance this is MAGA?
I'm going to put money on that it is, and that this was politically motivated. I can't see how it's not. This is a really sad time in America for us, Tim.
Very.
I'm slightly terrified.
Very sad time. We got Trump hosting the military parade today. He will speak at that parade. I'm gonna ask you what I asked Dencal. Any chance he keeps it civil? You know, he pays, tribute to these folks. Maybe uses this day to speak in terms of unity as opposed to radical left lunatics and, the kind of language what he normally says. Any chance that changes today with the death of these two politicians?
I would rather take a bet on that I would die from alcohol poisoning if I made a drinking game of every time Trump is going to blame Biden.
So in other words, no. Now, I don't know if you heard me earlier. I was reading a comment from Gen X. You got some MAGA.
He lost a ton of respect. That guy is... I didn't like him to begin with just by his general stances, but holy shit, if he ever says anything about one of your other callers, you should boot him just for that. I know you're free speech, but Jesus, that's fucked up.
Yeah, I'm about free speech. It was a harsh statement. He's suggesting that two dead Democrats should be a reason to throw additional parades, but...
I don't ever want to hear these people talking about how the Democrats are the violent ones. This is utter horseshit. Other than an assassination on Trump that was a Republican.
Was it?
And then Nancy Pelosi's husband. And then, Jesus, it's almost never the Democrats. Literally, 1% of the time. And then we get so much hate and blame for everything. And I've always tried, it's the same thing as racism, where it doesn't make any sense to me. It's just blind hatred for culturalism.
I gotta say, I don't agree with that. Racism I don't agree with it. I hate it because I'm usually the victim of it. But racism does make sense. It's about supremacy. It's about being on top. It's about controlling the narrative, controlling the resources, controlling the wealth. It makes sense. It's just wrong.
Morally, it doesn't make sense to me, at least.
Yeah, well, when they're not trying to be moral, we know.
Yes, but as a moral person.
They're just good Christians. They're just good Christians.
I'm very much against religion for that exact defense, that they will do the devil's deeds and then turn around and put on their halo and go, look at me, I'm so godly.
Well, I'll tell you in the comments, one of my viewers here, liberal annihilation is beautiful. That's his name, and that was his name before this took place. I've covered his statements before. But liberal annihilation is beautiful says controlling the animals.
The only animals I see are the ICE agents and the Republicans that go hog wild over people suffering. It's all about hate lately, and That's pretty sad, Tim. I live for love and happiness and freedom because we're goddamn America. And for some reason, they want a king, and they're happy to say it for some reason. I don't get it.
I do. I'm going to tell you, I do. The spiel, the monologue I just gave you of why racism makes sense. What are the chances, in your opinion, that if Trump is a king, he'll give it to him?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
You said it doesn't make sense. I'm telling you, I get it. I'm asking you. When I gave you the spiel of why racism actually does make sense, all of the things you can control, all of the benefits, being on top, being supreme, what are the chances that if Trump is indeed anointed to be king of this nation, that he will likely give it to people who want that?
I mean, he's going to be a terrible king. He's too stupid to be smart about it.
What makes you think a billionaire businessman is stupid who's been elected president twice?
Have you heard him speak lately? Over the last 3 years at least have been painful to listen to.
I mean, you don't have
He's
to
not
be
an
a...
intelligent man.
Okay.
He made some scummy deals and bankrupted casinos. But yeah, he's made a bunch of money in hotels by also dealing with other countries and scamming them out while he was the president to rent out 300 rooms for a month.
I'm just...
And just going straight into his pocket. So no, he knows how to make money, but he's too stupid to run the world.
Oh, I think...
He's a scam artist. We've talked about this, Tim. You can't do the universities and the bitcoins and the selling pieces of his suit if you buy enough digital memes from him.
You're telling me this guy is...
Money doesn't mean power. He's trying to take power.
He has both. He's had both most of his life. You're telling me that this guy is too stupid to run the world, but yet he served for 4 years, and a lot of people believe he's the best president ever. What are they seeing that you don't?
I don't agree with Gen X in what he said, and I don't agree with how he believes that he ran the country great. We have fundamental disagreements on how the world exists.
I would really like to get Gen X to come up after that comment. I don't know if he's still watching.
Talk to him.
I know that. I'm talking about after you. I would bring him up. I would like to hear from him, to hear his defense of that comment, because it's a strong comment, and no matter when I talk to him again on the show, I gotta ask him about that, because that was a hell of a comment to make. Like just a few hours after. In fact, one of them was not even officially dead yet. The person was still dying. So I would love to talk to him and hear his spiel on that. I think he may have tuned out, but if he comes in here, so what do you think?
The apps to censor us too much, but this is 100% the T word.
Terrorism, yeah. It's domestic. This is what.
If anyone's going to downplay that, you should please call them out for that, because this is domestic tea.
Yeah. This is what in 2017. During Trump's first term, his own FBI, when they stated that was the biggest growing threat in this country was domestic terror. Trump had a big issue with it. You know, he didn't like it. But, yeah, what happened today, because there is no foreigners involved in that. I highly doubt if it's an illegal immigrant that went to these. I mean, because they identified him as a white male. So I highly doubt.
This is also why we need the body cams to be constantly running, even though he just took those out. We need to be able to see who they are when these police came upon and getting shot at. We might have gotten some good evidence from this, but because these corrupt people are so worried about getting caught on camera.
Well, the thing is,
find these people.
But the thing is, they did take the police cruiser he had outside of the victim's house, so he's on foot. That's why they have this.
Look at his fingerprints, but if they had his facial ID matched off of that, they'd be a lot faster, most likely.
Yeah.
So when he's getting rid of all the safeties and checks and balances, Tim, this is the chaos. When cops don't have to identify themselves, people are going to get shot in exactly this way, and it's incredibly sad. And MAGA is going to celebrate the chaos. Do you understand how much that hurts my soul?
Well, it might hurt a lot more than your soul if the chaos is bestowed upon you, but I get your point. I do get your point. Wow. What do you...
If they ever try and say that they are the moral people, I will laugh in their faces.
They do believe they have the moral high ground over folks who believe...
I will laugh in their faces.
Well, but they're going to...
Test cyber truck goes by, I yell, yay.
But they're going to suggest that the liberals are in favor of taking the life of unborn babies and giving children gender-assigning surgeries. How the hell could the liberals say they have the moral high ground is what they're going to ask.
Because they don't actually know the facts, and I'm done debating that.
Well said. All right,
You
Sherbert.
say that there were gender-affirming care, surgeries before the age of 18. They're 100% lying to you. And if
I've
you're
never-
lying about something so fundamental, and about how one day you have a son, the next day you have a daughter. I can't have these conversations anymore, Tim. I'm going to laugh in their face and I'm going to walk away because they're too stupid to have a real conversation if they pull out any of those lines.
Do you two agree with what my other caller said, that we're likely to have civil unrest in this country?
In World War III, 100%. We're coming to it at an alarming rate. Operation Warp Speed, just in 2025. Let's go, baby.
You sound like you want this shit.
Well, I would like things to change and to not be in a dictatorship. And if it means coming to civil unrest, I really very much don't want that. But if it means being held by a king or being free because I'm a red-blooded American from birth, nah.
You do realize there's a lot of MAGA that are eagerly desiring this because they feel like they have the weaponry to do what they got to do to the liberals, right?
I'll find it. I'm not trying to have this conversation around down, Tim. It's gonna happen. And the chips will lie how they lie, and I will not, start violence myself, but it's coming. And it's pretty fucking clear right now.
God, man, you frightening the shit out of me. I gotta go, Sherbert. Not a good conversation. This ain't gonna be a good night, but thanks for coming through.
Wait for the body counts. Have a good night.
Yikes. Isn't there a song that says let the bodies hit the floor? Anyway, looking in the comments before we go to the next caller, tap the screen. Something I want to give you guys something, because it's going to end up with me making a video of it anyway, but I saw this last night before any of this stuff happened, and this stuff is indeed horrible, but this is certainly something I wanted to talk about. Real quick in the comments before we continue. Supercell Fusion says Trump ain't shit. Says they just gave an update. Governor Tim Walz, senator, canceling in Minnesota the No Kings protest. Yeah, I did hear. I mentioned that earlier. Supercell Fusion, thank you for the support. Yeah, I had heard that they had canceled the No Kings Day protest in Minnesota. I think it's been at least about an hour or so ago. I had mentioned that, but yeah, thanks for coming through and saying that. What happens if you cancel all the No Kings? Well, didn't care. One of my callers is actually currently at one. So they're not canceling all of them, but I don't know. You cancel the No Kings Day protest, but let the military one continue. It's a mess, folks. It's a mess. I'm starting to question the safety. Question the safety of being in large gatherings at this point. I mean, when you got a bunch of law enforcement being allowed to walk around with high-powered weaponry and no identifying characteristics, you could really do anything at this point. And anybody in the country can get the same weapons. Anybody in the country can get a police uniform and a balaclava. So anybody can dress like these people. I'm starting to question the safety of even being in large gatherings at this point. I went to see a Matt Rife concert in Omaha, Nebraska. I drove all the way across the country to see. I like the comedians, and I went to see Matt Rife, and I just like, damn. I don't know. I don't know if I like being in large gatherings anymore. And I've seen most of your well-known comedians, back from all the way back from when Steve Harvey and Bernie Mac days, up to the Seinfelds. And I've seen most of your well-known comedians live, and it was always a pleasure. But now with so much action, so much shit taking place, like, you don't want to be in gatherings like that anymore. It's just too much drama going on. And I was in an area of, when I went to see Matt Rife, I'm talking, to say 99.9% of that audience was white would probably be an understatement. I don't mind being around a diverse crowd, but this wasn't a diverse crowd. This was not a diverse crowd. Looking in the comments, KO Surge says ICE with no IDs and mask normalize impersonators, and I don't see a way to disagree with that. If you're allowing law enforcement to go around with masks and shit on, you are normalizing the ability to have people impersonate the police. And that could come back to bite the police. Keep that in mind. That could come back to bite the police. You could have police, like what happened today in Minnesota, getting in battles with people that are dressed like them. This could come back to bite police, allowing them to do that. But we'll go ahead and continue. And I want you to hear this real quick before I take the next caller. Thanks for tapping the screen. This is Bill O'Reilly. He does his own little thing on social media as well. But the question is, why do so many people, I think he titled it, hate Trump? And I thought it was interesting.
Not ready for it.
Reasons. Number one, Donald Trump totally rejects liberal policies and woke. There isn't one I can find that he supports. He didn't used to be that way. He was a registered Democrat in New York City. But now there's nothing on the left that he likes. And two is his demeanor. He's in your face. He does not speak precisely. He exaggerates, he brags. And he is putting on a show many times in the public arena. Those of us who know him discount that. I do. I mean, his tweets and all this, I don't take them seriously. All right? What I take seriously is what he tells me and what I can see in the policy realm. I take that very seriously. What he does at 3 a.m. on social media doesn't matter to me at all. But it drives some Americans absolutely crazy.
And
okay?
that's really...
Now,
that's all you need to hear. Now, he said the two reasons he gave is, Trump totally rejects the woke and liberal policies. That's 100% true. By the way, remember, vote for me, you ain't black, and the party of slavery and all this shit, when they're talking racism, why you should vote for Trump instead of the Democrat Party. Woke is something that is widely favored in the African American community, because a lot of that stuff the African Americans believe includes us. So if you're going to vote for somebody who's anti-woke, that's probably not going to go well for people of color, because a lot of that stuff includes things that people of color believe is necessary for them to have equality. So, but also in regards to him saying, another reason why, he gave two reasons why people hate Trump. The other one was Trump's demeanor. He says he speaks precisely, or doesn't speak precisely, he brags, and he talked about, I don't care what Trump does at 3 a.m. This is common language you hear from MAGA. Don't pay attention to what he does, not what he says. I'll just tell you right off the bat, the reason why you hear Trump supporters saying, I don't care what he does at 3 a.m., I don't care about the tweets, it's not aimed at them. It's a lot easier to discount what is happening to somebody when it's not aimed at you. When he's on social media at 3 a.m. tweeting all kinds of crazy shit, it's not aimed at the people who are saying, oh, I don't care about it. Yeah, you don't care about it because he's not talking about you. He's talking about the people that are getting pissed off. I say this all the time on the damn program. If you had a liberal in office that was doing the exact same stuff as Trump in regards to the economy, in regards to world affairs, tariffs, all the stuff you like on the right. If you had a liberal like Obama or Clinton or somebody doing the exact same shit, but they were always on social media criticizing and chastising Christians and gun owners, you wouldn't ignore it. You're lying if you say you do. You would not ignore that because he's giving you a good economy. If he's saying all kinds of shit against the principles and things you stand for, you would not ignore that. So that's why it's easy for the right to ignore the insults and tweets coming from Trump. It's not aimed at you. It's kind of like being at a comedy show and the guy is insulting and saying all kinds of horrible shit about the people sitting up front. It's easy to laugh. It's not aimed at you. But if you were sitting in that seat, you might have a whole different perspective. That's why people don't like him and some people do. It's because he is making jokes at their expense and you're the ones that are laughing and enjoying it. Looking in the comments here real quick, Anthony Bellamy says he was in rap because they were talking about getting rich and scamming. Okay. You're talking about the rappers that like Trump. Yeah, there were a lot of them. Let me go back to the box. We'll continue. We'll try it again with Miss Mo Betta. Good evening, Jeremy there, by the way. Miss Mo Betta Hopefully the echo's gone. There we go. Good afternoon. So, this disgusting day, by the way, disgusting day. But I mean, do you see this too as an act of domestic terror?
It absolutely is. And I don't know how many of our conversations that we've had, but I've been telling you this, that it's going to be civil unrest, and it started with him. It starts with him. Now, just you know, a quick comparison. Obama deported just as many, if not more, immigrants than anybody.
Okay.
Did you hear of anybody being unalived? Any civil unrest? Have you heard of any of that going on when Obama deported anybody?
No, but has that happened under Trump? Has anybody been?
What's happening now?
Well, yeah, but this.
What's happening? What's happening now, Tim?
Well, I get what happened in Minnesota, but are we blaming these deaths on Trump?
It's all on his hands.
Then
Because
how?
he has poor leadership.
Then how do you?
Your body is only as good as your head.
Then how do you respond to folks on the right who might suggest the assassination attempt on Trump is the fault of the left?
Listen, they believe that people are eating cats and dogs because Trump said so.
Yeah, they do. They do believe that. They do.
I'm saying, they believe anything that comes out of his mouth. And he is, again, he's like that old cow. I'm going to give you a bucket of milk and then turn around and kick it over.
Now, Cedric in the comments though says it's because Democrats stick together. He says if Trump deported the exact same way Obama did, Democrats would still complain. Kind of like the whole notion he could cure cancer, the Democrats would still hate him.
No, see, you know what it is, Tim? You can be right and loud, and it makes you wrong because of your delivery. People don't listen a certain way. Trump is all about being boisterous. He wants the limelight. He wants all the credit. He just wants his name to be on top of everything. Your name could still be on it. Why can't you do it a little more quietly? Why can't you do it a little more, have a little more compassion about certain things? You know what I'm saying? Do stuff with some type of decorum.
I don't think he was.
He lacks decorum.
I don't think he was hired for empathy and sympathy. But in regards to what you're saying, in the comments, LB Things, Stuff, and More says, when you discard your morals, you get chaos. America is amoral. And he concludes by saying 8647. Wow. So he's...
Write them numbers down.
You go...
Let me write those numbers down.
I was driving on the highway to work a couple days ago, and damn it, did I not see a car that somebody had wrote on the back of their window 8647. They actually had that in the window. So.
Yep. And so you know they came after a politician who tweeted that out or whatever he did. What's his name? The former guy who first tweeted the number.
Well, I know Jay Comey, the former head of the FBI, was the one that did it with the seashells. Yeah.
Yeah, but and like Anthony was saying in the comments, it was Republicans that tried to off Trump. They weren't Democrat; they were registered Republicans. So it's just they're not going to hold him accountable for anything. It's disgusting. He's trying to dismantle the Constitution. He is disregard to the laws of the land. He has no checks and balances because Congress they're just allowing him to do whatever he wants to when he wants to, and it's dangerous. Now to have officers not identify themselves or have to show their face. How could you tell if they're a real officer or not? Yeah. A civilian could go up there with a mask on and a police uniform and all of that and say that you are, and even if they are, you understand what I'm saying? Like, that means they can go in there and do some stuff unjustly, saying that you caused the problem. Yeah,
that's what I said before, is that if the police, let's say, for instance, you have an encounter with police and you feel like you were violated in any way, shape, or form, and you want to file a police report, you don't even have the guy's last name. He doesn't. I mean, you go down to the police station. He was some dude in a black outfit with a balaclava on. I mean, that means nothing. You can't even identify who you dealt with.
This is authoritarianism, fascism, seditious, treasonous behavior that's coming from the top, and shit rolls downhill. What MAGA forgot to tell Trump, and his bosses forgot to remind him that you're just the face. You're not the boss. You have people that you have to answer to.
Yeah.
And they're not asking him the right questions.
Yeah. Let me hold on one second. I just want to respond to something somebody said. I'll let you continue, Mr. Mobetta. But Supercell Fusion, you said, Tim, you're wrong. The two public figures that were assassinated, they were Democrats, not Republicans. Just FYI. Also, the great famous Miss Mobetta. You got a fan, by the way, in the audience. But Supercell, I did announce that they were Democrats.
No. See, he took one conversation. He must have listened to when we said that the ones who tried to off Trump were Republicans.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the two that were taken out this morning. 2 or 3 were taken out this morning. So just listen a little more clearly. But yeah, no, we know that. You said it.
Yeah.
You said they were.
Well, so now it appears, because both of these individuals who are deceased, their spouses were, her husband was dead at the scene. His wife was also shot. Right now that I know of, the wife of the senator, their picture, is the only living one. So out of all 4 people that were shot, 3 of them are confirmed deceased, I believe. So I don't know what the wife of this senator's state is, but 3 of them are already gone. So
it's disgusting. We have not only made enemies abroad, but right here in our own land. He did more dividing than the math teacher.
he did more dividing than what?
He did more dividing of this country than the math teacher.
The math teacher. Who's the math teacher?
A math teacher. They teach numbers.
Oh, look, I get it now. It's a rough day. It went right over my head. You got hip hop credentials there. Yeah, I divide your ass up like, okay, I get it. That actually was pretty good. I just wasn't catching it right off the bat. Okay.
I got you.
I get it. Okay.
I got you covered. I ain't gonna let you make
That was actually pretty good. I gotta say, because I got so much going on, I did not catch that. That's a good metaphor, though.
But and as far as Gen X fat ass, if that's the same Gen X,
That is the same Gen X.
Go take his old raggedy ass somewhere. I don't care whether they're Democrat, Republican, Rhino, whatever. Nobody deserves to lose their lives over politics.
What do you think of the Florida officer I've been playing in regards to, you get in front of a car, you get ran over and dragged in the street, graveyard dead? What do you think of him?
The epitome of Jim Crow. I mean, it's just all in his speech. We know we had a feeling of what your intentions was. It came out once you spoke. You talking about unaliving people for protesting, and this is why I said the Constitution is being dismantled as we speak. Like you gonna go out there now again, and especially too now, if officers don't have to identify themselves, some officers can go in and say, "Oh, they tried to attack me, so I had to protect myself." You understand what I'm saying? It makes no sense. And for him to get up there and say it in a press conference, isn't there some type of law against that? That's an imminent threat to something that did not even happen.
Well, I think technically, I mean, I can understand what he's saying. I mean, he's basically saying, if you try to do something to us, you should expect something to be done to you. But I think his wording is more inflammatory as opposed to being illegal or anything. I mean, he's making it clear that he doesn't sound like the kind of guy who will only shoot as a last resort. He sounds like almost somebody who will do it as a first resort.
Right, and he didn't say, this could lead up, I suggest you guys go out there and protest peacefully or whatever. He just came out shooting right off the bat. Like, come on, bro. Like, you didn't even give people a chance to go out there and do anything.
Didn't they change some kind of rule, or didn't Ron DeSantis recently pass some kind of law? Somebody in the comments let me know, but I think he made it easier to run over protesters where you won't be held as accountable. I know they did.
That's no surprise. It's Ron DeSantis, and with his parents were immigrants too. Like, I just can't. The hypocrisy of a lot of these politicians is just uncanny. It's hard to fathom, and it's even hard to fathom how people support that stuff. So the question is like, that. Well, why so many people support that? Like I said, that's the ultimate question. How could you support some shit like that?
Because you hate who I hate, so you're my friend. I want you to hear this comment. Will Sim in the comments is giving some advice on how to not necessarily be so upset at Trump. He says there is a simple way to not get upset when it comes to President Trump. Don't listen to him. He says go out and live your life. Hate destroys the brain. Do you think that would help calm things down in America if the population that does not like Trump just stop listening to him?
See, the thing is, it's not just him you're listening to. You're listening to people around you.
Yeah.
It's not him we're just listening to. We're not turning on the TV to let me go see what Trump has to say today. That's not it. It's the people around him. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Because what they do, they change work, they change sentences and paragraphs and stuff. Oh no, that's not what he said. That's not what he meant. They speak for him. So now, guess what? You're taking on his bet. You're taking on his burden. So that's why you're going to hear so much about it, because it's around you. It's everywhere around you.
Yeah, and I'll second that by saying if Trump calls you a name, they echo it. If Trump calls Nikki Haley bird brain, you look all over right-wing media, she's being called bird brain. Sleepy Joe came from Trump. What does the right call her? Pocahontas came from Trump. So you are right. Yeah, so if you ignore Trump, you're still hearing him speak through MAGA. You're repeating the exact same quotes that are, the Haitian migrants eating cats and dogs. You didn't need to hear it from Trump. All of a sudden, MAGA started saying it.
And
So,
Nikki Haley is bird brain. What the fuck is Alice Goon, Marjorie Taylor Greene, or whatever her name is, and Christy Nome?
they're patriots. They're patriots because they are on the same team.
What's her name? Nome? Christy Nome, or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
She just wants to walk around in this hat trying to look pretty and all of that. That bitch don't know shit, and neither does Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Well, we know she doesn't know what habeas corpus is, but she's not
You
bad.
don't know shit. How you not know that was a senator up there? You thought, oh, well, he should have let me. No, bitch, you got to know the area that you in. And you talk about DEI hires, people that got hired just because them hoes they are not worthy of their positions. Yeah.
He said them hoes ain't worthy. All right, Miss Mobetta, these hoes ain't loyal. I appreciate you coming through.
That's why I didn't say loyal. They are loyal.
They are very loyal.
I could bet you could. They can tell you what Trump ate for dinner last night without being in the same room.
Damn.
Because they got their nose so far up his ass they could smell it.
They are very loyal. I cannot argue with that. I can't argue with that. Miss Mobetta, certainly a pleasure. Supercell Fusion is a fan as well as I am. Thanks for coming through.
Okay.
All right, that is Mr. Mobetta, everybody. Looking in the comments real quick, I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. They said if you were going to obstruct the road, you're the one putting yourself, you shouldn't be blocking anybody, just like if someone comes to your house, you have the right to defend. No, you don't have the right to defend the road by lethal force. What the hell are you trying to say? I get if somebody comes in your damn home, you have the right to defend yourself. But if an unarmed person is trying to stop your car, you're gonna defend the life of Ashley Babbitt, but you're okay with running. Jesus Christ! But you're okay with running over a protester. You don't see no hypocrisy in that, right? None at all. You're gonna defend Ashley Babbitt, who was actively climbing through a broken window, but the guy in front of the car, he's free game to run over. Oh, wow. I want to play this clip again because I got a few new viewers in here just to hear what he said about the whole car thing.
If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and then jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here.
That big, beautiful dog's comment is yet another reason why I'm saying it sounds like he enjoys this stuff. He's not doing this just simply to keep law and order. using violence as a last resort. It sounds like he's really taking pleasure in hurting people.
One of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play. This has got to stop.
Got to stop by police corruption? I don't know. I just ask by way of yes or no in the comments. I want to get you folks to tell me yes or no in the comments to this question. Obviously, throwing a rock, cinder block, or a stone at a police officer can be a lethal threat. I'm not going to pretend like it cannot. It's obviously a crime. It should be a felony as well. I'm not going to defend anybody throwing a rock or a brick or something at a cop. There are some conditions that are required before it's going to be a lethal threat, because I've been hit on the head with a brick before as a kid. Can't you tell by how I'm talking? Anyway, or a rock or whatever. It's probably going to have to be a certain weight. It's probably going to have to be going a certain speed. It's probably going to have to hit at the right angle in the right spot on the person. I mean, there's going to have to be a number of factors. It's not like a firearm where it's almost guaranteed if you're hitting the head with a projectile from a firearm, it's a high likelihood you're going to pass away. That's not the same in regards to a rock or a cinder block or a stone, but it is a lethal threat. So by way of yes or no in the comments, I'm going to ask this question. If someone throws a rock at a cop, potentially a lethal threat, but they may not have any more rocks in their hands after throwing it. If you throw a rock or something at a cop and you miss, do you believe the cop that you missed should have the right to, at that point, use lethal force on you or on that person? Do you believe if a person throws a rock and misses at law enforcement should have the right to shoot that person? By way of yes or no in the comments. I'm just curious. See, Glenn Robinson said yes. You see, you're still living in the past when you couldn't ride the bus, when we couldn't get jobs, when we couldn't be in the same school. What are you saying there? That is the past. Yeah, okay, I don't get what you're saying though. Ain't nobody pretending they can't go to schools. Most of the folks are saying no. Somebody said, Nucha says no way in hell. How many of you folks believe that if somebody throws a rock at a police officer, once the rock has been tossed and they're no longer in possession of the rock and they don't miss the police officer, should the police officer then be able to return lethal force and shoot the person? Yes or no in the comments. I'm just curious to see. No, that's a little extreme, says Cedric. Well, people are saying yes. Most of you folks are saying no. I am a first responder and I am not running into MAGA house on fire. Damn. Steve, I don't want to yell your name out like you're a security guard for Jerry Springer, but Steve says he is a first responder and he would not run into a MAGA house on fire. So if he knew the home, let's say for instance a house is blazing and you can see people on the second or third story sticking their head out of the window, waving sheets or whatever. You got this big ass Trump flag on the lawn or something like that, or you see the cars and all of that. You see the MAGA hat in the window. He's saying he would not run into that house to provide any assistance. Wow. Tap the screen, get the likes on up to 50,000. We'll take the next caller. That's some serious shit there, Steve. Steve is a liar, but also a piece of shit, says Gary B. That's not cool, regardless of who they are. Well, we just had somebody celebrating the loss of these two politicians. This is a free speech program. Let me make it clear. Give my monologue before we take the next caller, because I haven't done it, but we are MAGA friendly. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. You can disagree with anybody on the program. You can be critical of anybody on the program, up to and including yours truly. So this is free speech here, uncensored. By the way, if you enjoy civilized dialogue from all sides of the aisle without any censorship, I ask that you give your boy a follow if you're watching currently on Instagram Live, TikTok Live, or if you're watching on YouTube horizontal, YouTube vertical, give your guy a subscription. We don't do it by phone, Tammy. If you are on Instagram or you're on TikTok, you can come in live. We'll bring you right up. YouTube doesn't allow for folks to call through. Otherwise, we would do it on YouTube as well. That's how you call in to be one of the callers. See, this is what Tim does. Makes up a scenario that isn't going to happen to justify violence against police and ICE. I asked a damn question. You're going to tell me what this guy saying, what he just said? The scenario I gave is 100% impossible that can happen. That if you throw a rock at a cop that has been a cop that's working under this guy here who is saying shooting people graveyard dead. You're going to tell me that it's 100% guaranteed that if you throw a rock at any of his cops and miss, you feel 100% confident none of them would shoot you. That's what you're telling me. I made up a scenario that isn't going to happen to justify violence against police. That's what he's telling me. Looking in the comments, Supercell Fusion says Trump ain't shit. Says Trump ain't shit. Yes, the cops has every right to use force. It goes back to aerodynamics, the estimated time of throwing rocks. It's the same time with the Indian airline of what happened. I don't quite get that one there, Supercell. You says, yes, the cop has every right to use force. It goes back to aerodynamics. The estimated time. I said if you throw a rock, you miss. So if the person threw a rock at you, which is potentially lethal, a use of lethal force, but once the rock has missed you, you're not in danger of perishing anymore, unless you see him picking up another one or something. But if he's throwing a rock at you and missed, your lethal threat has been a failure. I'm asking, under that situation, once the rock misses you, do you believe it's okay for the cop to shoot the person? Because it was lethal force at the time. Almost like using a firearm, trying to shoot a cop, and the slide racks back so the cop can clearly see this person is out of bullets. Do you still get to shoot the guy? My guess is it would probably be excused. It would certainly probably be excused. But holding a firearm and having a firearm with the slide rack back, making it clear it's empty, versus having no rocks or nothing in your hand are not the same. Because the cop might be able to suggest, well, I didn't know the slide was racked back. I don't think you're going to get away with saying that he didn't have anything in his hands. But we'll continue on. But yeah, you're saying it's the same thing with the Indian airline of what the Indian airline, the Indian airline, just real quick on that story, it appears, I don't know what you guys know about aeronautics. He's talking about aerodynamics, but aeronautics, what happened is it appears as if they tried to take off a 737, 787, 200 and something crashed and perished. One person survived. Looks like it was a failure to withdraw the landing gear, and they instead pulled in the flaps. The flaps give the plane lift on takeoff, help slow it down on landing. The landing gear obviously creates drag, and it looks like they left the landing gear down, which should have been retracted. You should have saw that happening in the photo, and it wasn't. And you should have kept the flaps out. And it looks like they did them in reverse, so it gave the plane a hell of a lot more drag. And even the surviving victim stated, I heard them really cranking the engines, but we just paused and dropped out of the sky. That's a whole different conversation. But anyway, looking in the comments though, how far back can a person accurately determine if a gun is unloaded? That's a good point. I'm just simply saying, let's say, for instance, you've seen it on video, you've seen the shooting, and you could clearly tell it was close enough where the cop should have been able to see the slide was racked back. Let's say it was at a point where you could clearly see it, where it was no doubt that cop knew it was racked back. Do you think the cop should still be able to shoot the guy? I'm just going to tell you, I think in a case like that, it would be excused. Because he's still at least holding a gun in his hand. I think it would be, but a person throwing a rock at a cop and ain't no more rocks in his hand, I think it's I don't know about that one as much. Before we go on to the next caller, we'll continue on. I don't know what I'm hitting here, and by the way, tap the screen. Thank you. Get us up over 50,000. The White Rose. Good evening. Welcome to the program. I like the name. So, White Rose, are you aware that we did lose 2 House politicians in Minnesota this morning?
Yes, I did.
Do you think it's domestic? Do you think it's domestic terrorism?
Of course I do.
Do you think it's Do you think their party affiliation had anything to do with it? In other words, it might be a Republican or MAGA. You think there's any chance of that?
I think so. I mean, I can't say it's MAGA. I'm thinking that it's somebody MAGA because a lot of the stuff that's been going on is MAGA. So
What do you mean?
why not?
What other stuff been going on is MAGA?
You know, right now I've come to a point that it's so much shit that they've done that I just can't keep up with it. I just can't.
So it sounds like you're. I mean,
let's come up to talk about this cop though.
okay, before you do, I kind of thought you were going to be leaning right. It sounded like you're trying to say MAGA's bad for America. I thought you probably were MAGA.
No, I'm not MAGA, bro. I'm a liberal, just like you.
Okay, fair enough. What were you? What this cop? What were you going to say?
I was gonna say, you know, in any other time in the history of America, right, where a cop talk like that, the mayor or the governor will be asking for his badge.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, they got great. They have another sheriff, Grady Judd, in that same state that often talks like that as well, though.
Yeah, I know. There's also a black sheriff that talks like that, but that's. I don't know. The KKK no longer wears their little hats. That's all I can say. I mean, this is, to me, this is a racist sheriff. This is why when I was with Black Lives Matter, this is why we call cops ACAB, because they're all the same. They're all the freaking same. You know, these guys were originally made to be freaking slave catchers. And that slave catcher mentality has never left the police departments anywhere in this nation. You know, it's sad that in this nation, you have a cop talking like that, even if he's attacked by a bottle of water or a stone. I mean, these guys have gear to protect themselves. So you're telling me you have around 20 pounds of gear on you, and you have a 9mm, whatever you have, and somebody's going to throw a rock, and you're going to end their life. This is crazy.
Now, when you say
any other time in American history, this wouldn't happen. He'd be fired.
Now, when you say now you said you participated in Black Lives Matter gatherings, and you said ACAB, which for folks who don't realize, ACAB, ACAB means all cops are bad. You really believe that all cops are bad?
Yes. And I'll tell you why. Because even if there's some good cops, they're covering for the bad cops.
Not one of them out there that want to do what's right by America.
Huh? Oh, shoot.
Not one of them out there that just simply want to do what's right by the public safety of this country.
When have you known a cop to stop a murder? When have you known a cop to stop any kind of crime? They're there after the fact. They were created, and they are still, the only thing that they have to do, they don't protect life. What they protect is property.
I've actually seen, if you watch, active self-protection or police activity, there are tons of cops that have saved lives. There's a black cop that recently stopped a mass casualty event by himself in a shopping mall. I don't know if I agree with the ACAB.
I don't know what to tell you, bro. I mean, that's the way I see it. That's the way I see it.
Let me ask it to you this way. You hear a noise in the middle of the night, and you realize it's like 3 or 4 armed people trying to get in your crib. What do? You're not going to call ACAB? You're not going to call any of these cops?
No, I got a pew-pew.
It's like 3 or 4 people. You going to take them all on with just...
Listen, we have several pew-pews in my house. From the littlest Puerto Rican in this house to the biggest Puerto Rican in this house, everybody knows how to use a firearm. Everybody knows that it's not a toy. Everybody knows that we have to protect our home. I have cameras. I have 2 beautiful pit bulls. If they could get through all the stuff that I have, they could off me.
So as opposed to calling for what amounts to as unlimited backup, you would rather use what you have in your house, including a dog, to defend yourself.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Listen, let me tell you something. Anytime that I've called anything, I'm telling you, anytime that I've got me as a brown man, anytime I have called the cops for anything, what they do is escalate the situation. You know, let's say a couple of months ago, I had an argument with one of my cousins, and this is a family argument. 20 minutes later, you're fine with that person, right? Well, some dumbass called the cops, and they're like really aggressive toward both of us, and I'm like, we're family. We'll get over this. We don't need you guys here. And the first thing they do is get aggressive. Our neighborhoods, okay, our black and brown neighborhoods are over-policed, okay? We are treated as black and brown people by the police worse than homeless people. And we pay their salaries.
I do agree.
I don't know the country you're in, but I know that how cops react here in my part of the woods.
But how do you respond to folks who say the reason black and brown neighborhoods are neighborhoods are over policed is because they have a lot more crime in those neighborhoods?
Yeah, we have crime, but I just don't know. I mean, to me, it's just way too much.
Okay, before you
put it this way, I'm a social worker, right? And I deal with kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I deal with black and brown kids. And last week, these kids, these are like basically A students. They were on the stoop in front of the house, just talking. Police come by and harass them. This is a daily occurrence in Leftwood. Why are you going to bother some kids that all they're doing is messing around, playing their music, talking trash? I mean, they do certain things in order for the community not to participate in solving the crime problem. They exacerbate whatever issues they are. And then we have police officers that are not from the neighborhood that are just like, it's just a job for them.
That is part of the problem. Is I do believe you should have more police that are from the community, but there is an issue with blacks that don't want to be police. I mean, because you see, even in some of the most heinous areas where a lot of crime, a lot of poverty exists in the black community, when there's a controversial event, all the cops are white. Like you need more people that look like you and came from this area. Like I'm just gonna say it like this: you take a poor white community, rural Alabama somewhere like that. If there's domestics or some crime happening there, you're not gonna be able to send a squadron of all black cops to that area, and the people are just going to comply. I mean, if you should have cops that have some kind of representation from the neighborhood. But before we continue on, I want to address a comment. LT in the comments says, please, the Roland Martins, the L Sharptons, the Jesse Jacksons, who, by the way, back in the day received a bank loan from Trump that Trump never made them pay back. You know that one when Trump, that ain't true. Trump is not known as the guy who just goes around giving out free money to celebrities. That is not true. People keep always saying that Trump gave all these people free money. Trump has been in a bunch of lawsuits with his own employees for not paying them. You think he's really the guy that just giving away all this free money? You notice you don't hear any of those people you named giving Trump credit for giving them free money? That didn't happen, but go ahead there. So this cop here, though, you believe he should be fired?
Yes. I think he should be immediately. I mean, but he's in Florida, so, I mean, what do you expect? What is it you expect? I mean, I think that his language is vulgar. I think his language is inflammatory. I think that he's having dreams of segregation.
Ooh.
Okay? Because some of the stuff he said, when he said dogs, I was like, whoa, I'm 60 years old. I saw some of the stuff as a kid. I'm like, wow, really?
Yeah,
really?
It's inflammatory. There's no denying that. I see in the comments, Supercell Fusion says, Tim, I agree with your caller. He's referring to you. He says all cops are bad, and he forgot to mention that cops can be corrupted too as well. Right. That's why they are bad. So he does agree with what you're saying there. And they can't be anybody can be corrupted. I do agree that anybody can be corrupted, but there are some cops who have literally lost their careers trying to be whistleblowers. I mean, look what happened to the cop that shot Ashley Babbitt. You think he was a bad guy?
Well, he wasn't a cop. Wasn't he a Secret Service agent?
He's law enforcement.
Yeah, but that's a little bit different. He's not policing the inner city. He's not having interactions with citizens. Okay. He's trying to safeguard the president or whatever. I think that they should. Let me just shut up because I'll get into
I'm
it.
dying to know what you're about to say. All right, I'll leave it at that if you don't want to go into it. I do got to move it on, but now I'm really dying to know where you were about to go with that. You know we don't black ban or censor.
I hope I don't get you live banned.
You're good. Don't worry about it.
Just shut up.
Don't worry about it. All right.
Thank you, my brother.
Anytime. White Rose, come on back through anytime, man. Thank you. All right, moving on with the program. Wasn't he Capitol Hill Police? Yeah, I believe he was a cop, but he's saying that he's talking more about cops that interact with the public. That's the distinction he's making. I mean, you got everything from postal police to railroad police to tax police. I think he's talking more like beat cops, state cops, federal police that interact with the actual citizens. Both of y'all mamas love Trump. My mom's dead, so I know you're not talking about mine. Imagine a billionaire George Soros funding Black Lives Matter, funding Open Society Foundation, funding school unions. What's wrong with a school union? Damn. You putting that in there? Okay, he said, imagine a billionaire like George Soros funding BLM, funding Open Society Foundation. I don't know enough about that. Funding school unions. Hence why society is collapsing, divide and conquer, because no one knows how to be critical. You think a school union is dividing society? You think you think society would be better off if the teachers had no union representation and were just left to their own devices, huh? That would make society, you probably believe that about the American workers too, huh? Get rid of the unions, we'll all be better off, let the corporations be able to do whatever they want. That'll make us, God. Gary B says school unions have destroyed education. I don't think school unions, listen, I think there's a whole lot more at play with education than just school unions. I mean, school unions have not always been around in this country, and we know education was not done proper. I mean, think about how much in the African-American, among African-American people that never make the history books. The school unions ain't got shit to do with that. You think the school unions are the ones that dictated we teach people that Christopher Columbus discovered America? Or that we had a friendly dinner with the Pilgrims and that's how Thanksgiving, the Native Americans and the settlers are all friendly with each other? You think the school unions are the ones that's promoting the teaching of that shit? All of that incorrect stuff coming from school unions, huh? All right, okay. Looking in the comments, school unions deal with government, not corporations. Yeah, that's true. That is true, but they're fighting on behalf of fairness and pay for the teachers. You get rid of school unions, the teachers are not going to do. You get rid of any union, and the people that the union is representing are going to be worse off. And I want us to say, before we move on with the program, you notice how the right, anti-employee unions, anti-teachers unions, they don't say shit about the police unions. Every claim you make of how bad unions are, you're going to tell me that does not apply to the police union? We don't like corporate unions because it makes it harder for small business to fire bad employees. You don't think that applies to cops? You don't think the police union makes it hard to fire bad cops? The right doesn't have shit to say about police unions, even though they do the exact same stuff they complain about all the other unions. Every union operates in similar manner. They get involved in politics. All the stuff that you have a complaint about unions for, the police union does the same stuff. Police union is getting involved in elections, telling you who they endorse. I believe many of them endorse Trump. Well, because they're on our side, we don't mind their unions. You don't see the game in this. You don't see the hypocrisy in this. If you're anti-union, you wouldn't want the fire department. You wouldn't want the police department to have them either. But you're not saying that because you think they might be rooting for you. Looking in the comments though, unions are only for the union, not the ones the union represents. That's what I was taught after that day, and that's wrong, Sean. As someone, and I'll go to the box, as someone who has worked for United Parcel Service as an unloader, I worked for AT&T, American Telephone and Telegraph, and I was in unions both times. Unions absolutely represent the people. They're not 100% perfect. Damn it, if you hire a lawyer when you're charged with a crime, your lawyer may not do 100% of what you want him to do or agree with. But overall, you're much better off with a lawyer than without. And the same applies to a union. I don't give a damn what you do for a living. If you compare folks in your profession that are unionized to those who are not, you'll see all sorts of differences involved in pay and benefits. Job security is another one. What kind of raises you get? You're gonna fare worse off without a union as an employee, probably 99% of the time. There's a few things. I don't like what they're doing with my union dues. Well, go work at a non-union job. They're not taking union dues out of your pay at all, and you're making a lot less than the people that are paying union dues. It's a big difference. I mean, it's a substantial difference in working for a union versus not. Gangsta Grandma. Good evening, or welcome to the program, Gangsta. No fluffing today, right?
No, not really, but you better be pushing back. Because if those mofos come up here talking shit about what happened up in Minnesota, you better, I promise y'all choke the hell out. Y'all go like Ghost Dad and choke
Well, I
the hell
gotta be
out
choked. Well, I asked a question earlier on the live. Should the parade, the military parade and the No King's Day parades be canceled because of what happened? Let me give you a statement that was made in the comments. Gen X, we're also on Instagram Live. Gen X was on Instagram Live. He stated, cancel the parade because some liberals got taken out. He says, hell no, that's a great reason to have another parade.
And that right there, and that's your homie. And that's your homie. That's the trash that you like to talk to. That is complete trash right there. That's why I come back and I slap him the fuck down. That is the triple K right there. White nationalist right there. He is. He don't give a damn. It's his people that did it.
Well,
That's the hate that we're fighting. That is the hate that we are fighting. And you don't think we're not gonna have a civil unrest? I ain't going down. I got my pew-pews. I wish a bitch would. I wish a maggot would. For one, they wouldn't get to my house because my dogs would tear our asses up. I have 8 dogs. 8. I have cane corsos, bullies, and 2 pit bulls. And the only ones that won't do nothing is my 2 little Frenchies. But the rest of them, I wish they would. They don't like the maggots. They really don't.
your dogs don't like MAGA?
No, they don't. I would shit you not.
How can a dog?
They have, I tell her, if they see, if you, no, they don't, no.
How can a dog recognize a person's political affiliation?
Because, have you noticed, have you seen the white tea people with dogs and the black people with dogs? Do they know? They black dogs. They know. They know.
Oh my God, gangsta.
Right, my dogs are the black harmony. They know this.
Okay, I
My
think
14 cars, they would tear somebody up, okay? They're over 100 pounds, each of them. I wish a bitch would. But I got a pew in every room in my house, too. So I ain't worried about it. I wish a maggot would. I wish a maggot would.
Well, listening to you speaking, my last caller, MAGA reacts in the comments says, so according to the last 2 callers, you want to fire all the cops and hand out dogs instead?
No one says fire all the po-po.
Do you?
Unfortunately, they have to be around, but they shouldn't be talking like that little idiot in there, Florida. Because if the damn military can't do it in a war zone, they cannot do it in a war zone. What the fuck makes you think that you can do it here?
Do you buy into the notion what my last caller was saying in regards to ACAB? Do you agree with that?
I do. The Popo ain't our friend. They're even the black and brown ones. They're not our friends. Why do you think the police were made, though, fool? They're not made for the white man. It was made for us.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something about the United States, and you can tell what happened in an election. It's all anti-black and brown out here. It is. They didn't want no damn black woman that was educated and stuff in office. They wanted this hate to come out. Guess what we're built on? The United States was built on hate. Now look what we got. We have the 2 people that got unalive today. Behind what? Hate.
Yeah, but how do you respond to folks who would say that you're trying to conflate what happened in the past with now when you have victim mentality?
I don't have victim mentality. The past is coming to be again. It's coming around again. And you don't think this shit's not a full hate thing? You guys are some kind of special idiots. Your mama dropped your head smoking too much. You feel what I'm saying?
Well, I'm not going to deny if the FBI is telling us the biggest issue we're facing right now is domestic terrorism from hate groups. I'm not going to pretend like I know more than the FBI.
Right there, the hate groups are the white tea people. then you have the stupid ones, the black and brown ones. Oh, yes, master. Yes, master. They're right along with them because they think they'll get next to whiteness so damn bad. So, no, I don't think, and I rest in peace to the people that died today. Hell no, we're not going to stop protesting. Why? Do you think they're going to stop the damn? Do you think they're going to stop the damn, the triple? Do you think they're going to stop the parade today? But we so broke, right?
Yeah. But what about the notion that maybe what happened, as unfortunate as this was, it might be a day that this event sparks Trump, who is going to speak at the parade, to actually speak from a standpoint of unity. Maybe he won't criticize the liberals and go with Sleepy Joe. Maybe he won't talk like that
I really
today.
think he's not going to criticize. This might be the time he opens his mouth. He always criticizes something. Biden is living in his head, okay, rent-free. And you know why he's living in his head rent-free? Because Biden was pro-black. He was pro-brown. He did things for our communities. And nobody wants to admit that, but he was better than even Obama. He did more than even Obama. You know why? Because the white man couldn't do it. Wouldn't let Obama do anything for us. But guess who got in office? The white tea man that was pro-black and was pro-brown and did it. You may not like Biden, but he sure did a hell of a lot more than any other president.
Well, if Biden did as much as you're suggesting, how the hell did he lose black male voters? His
Because they're kind of special idiots. That's why. Because you know why? Because they couldn't take the fact that the black women was saying, go for her. They didn't like that. They didn't like a black woman in charge because, see, the masculinity and stuff. I don't want to listen to no damn woman. I don't want to listen to no damn woman. Oh, you know, they're beneath us. That's what got us in trouble. The black men are pathetic. Not the ones that voted for her. The ones that voted against her and went to the maggots. They're pathetic. They don't have no balls. But just believe, they're like, yes, master, the house ninjas.
Well, as you know, because you've seen me in them, I still talk to a lot of black MAGA. I enjoy talking to them, but
I know you enjoy it. Does your Peter get aroused? Because they ain't your friends.
Wait. What did you say? Does a Peter what? What did you just say? Does a Peter what?
Does your Peter get aroused because you be liking them too much?
Oh my!
I mean, come on now. They ain't your friends. Who is your friends? They sellouts. They went against everything we believe in our black community. They sold us out. Everything Obama and Biden did. Who fucked it all up? The maggots did.
Well,
they don't want diversity. They want the white teen man all up in there. They don't want shit. Everything that Biden did for the black community is taken back. Why? And you were up their ass like you get hard on or some shit.
No, I
You
am.
know, like they ain't you calling your friends. They will put you in a tree before somebody else would.
No, I enjoy political conversation with all sides. I don't view them as friends, so to speak, other than what we exchange online. I've never met these people, but I enjoy hearing from the other side as well.
What? All the misinformation, all the hate. What? You let them spear hate on your life. You let them spear all the misinformation. Everything they talk about is misinformation.
What?
You don't never want to push back on their sorry asses.
What you saying?
I wish a black MAGA would come for. I wish he would. If you think I'm hard on the white tea ones, honey, I would cut their balls off and hand it to them and fuck them with their own dick, okay?
Why you gotta be so violent? Isn't that what the left is saying? The right is violent. You sound like you're being violent.
No. See, that's what it is. See, Michelle, I love me some Michelle, but she said go high. When they go low, go high. No, bitch, I'll meet you in the hell, okay? I'm tired of being nice to their asses. I'm sick of their asses. And I will meet them in hell, too. Because I drag them to the pits of hell because I'm tired of being nice. I am. I'm tired of being nice to them. Why be nice to their ass? Why? Why be nice when they're putting us through fucking hell? You know, I'm Afro-Latina. I love both my sides. I can't stand the Cubanos. I can't stand their asses. They voted for the white man that's throwing their asses back to Cuba. Like what? You thought you was white so bad? I talk shit about both sides. I talk shit. So no, I'm not racist. I just give it back to them. See, unlike you kiss their ass. No offense.
Well,
But you say yes. Well, you know what? You push back like a lollipop.
well, I don't.
Push back big time.
Well, I'm not talking about chopping off testicles, gangster.
Well, I would. I don't even want to look at their testicles. They probably look white as hell. I couldn't deal with it. You know what I mean? They ain't black. They're not black men. A real black man stood up and said, I'm not voting for this shit, and they voted for her. That's the real black man.
Well, you know I always tell you when we talk that there are legitimate reasons for a black man to vote for Trump. Voting for Trump doesn't always have to be about hate or racism.
The PPE, okay? The PPE. They thought that they were going to get some fucking money. They believed the lies. Oh, they're going to give us $5,000. Where's it at?
How do you respond to folks now? Because obviously you're a bombastic, passionate guest, and people go looking on your profile when you talk. Creed in the comments says, "Bitch, you're white." How do you respond?
No, well, if they go scroll down a little longer, they'll see that my father and my mother are black as hell.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. You do look, but you.
Black.
I've looked at you. You do look like a white woman.
Oh, I look well, okay? And black comes in every shade, bitch. But you know, when I go out in the sun, I don't burn, bitch. I don't. I get dark skin. So,
All right.
I'm Afro-Latina, bitch. Enjoy. Kiss my black ass.
Yeah, I see in the comments Cedric Heine says she is definitely not African American.
Okay, I'm not. Okay.
Damn. All right, well,
I came from a black man's nutsack, okay? He's Dominican and black. My grandfather is black. He is from Africa.
You know something? You know one way to guarantee people see you as a black person? Run for president. You would be black as hell all of a sudden. Your ancestors, all that would matter then.
The white team, man. See, that's why they don't like us black folks, because we come in every shade. Okay? That is blonde hair, blue eyes, spit, and you think that they are white as hell, and they black.
864.
Help me with this bullshit.
Here's a funny one. 864 Ice Cold says you sound like a redneck. Wow.
I ain't no damn redneck. I wish. Oh, God.
Well, I know you. I know last time you were talking about uncooked meat, so
uncooked meat, man. They give us salmonella. That's why I was like, you want to date that shit? I tell you, when I was drunk as hell, and they said you would mess with anybody drunk as hell. When I was drunk as hell, I could not mess with the white man. I'm sorry. I mean, there's some good white people out there that are on our side. I give you props, baby. But going into your meat, your Johnson, hell to the fuck to the no. That looks like uncooked, like sauerkraut looking shit that I would die. No.
Oh God, that was.
I like my chocolate. I'm pro-black. I love my chocolate. At least their chocolate don't melt. They melt only in our mouths, and that's it.
All right.
No, that's sour.
Is it a case that Samuel Smith in the comments says you hate your non-melanated skin? That's what he's saying. You hate.
No, I'm black. Why would I hate my blackness? I'm black as hell. I'm black. When I go out in the sun, I don't burn. I don't get to what do they say, a strawberry. Like 5 minutes in the sun. No, I get dark skin. Right now, I am darker. I've been out in the sun. I've been roasting. You feel what I'm saying?
You need to post that picture of you because you do look like a white woman. I'm not gonna.
I don't give a damn what I look like. Who the fuck is you? You be kissing ass to the white people.
No, you look nice. But hold on. Ain't nothing wrong with your looks. I'm just saying you don't look like a.
I don't give a fuck what I look like. I know what the color I came out of. My daddy black and darker than you.
All right, fair enough.
My mama is Mexican and black and Dominican. Shit, I'm a mix. You know what I'm saying?
I got another.
Nationality.
Well, Supercell Fusion, thank you for the support. Says Tim, ask Gangsta Grandma, does she like regular hot dogs or does she like Polish dogs?
I like chocolate hot dogs. You know what? Let me tell you. I like chocolate banana with nuts on it with whipped cream. You feel what I'm saying? I don't like no raw looking. I don't. That's my. Until I was drunk, I tell you, I couldn't do it. I was gonna take it for the team. Couldn't do it. I looked at him like, God,
I think that will go down in.
No color.
I think that'll go down in history as one of the most memorable comments ever made on this show. Is suggesting a white man's Johnson
Tim,
looks like
Tim,
uncooked meat.
Tim. Let me tell you, I know you're not into men. But
Thank you.
I know you're not into men, but let me tell you, I'm into men and women, and I stick it to nope. They're different. I promise you, they're different. And I'm not trying to be mean to the white team men that I like that is on our side. No, I couldn't do it, and I'm not being mean. That's just my preference. I couldn't do it. But getting back to the topic. Today is going to be a good day, and it's not a good day.
No, it's not.
It's sad. It's a very sad day. You know what I mean?
It is.
But we have to still go out there. We still got to protest because we do not want this shit to go bad. You know what I mean?
But maybe, as I said, maybe Trump will use this day to be more unified. And I got to move it on, but give him a chance.
Okay, let me tell you this one thing. If he was going to be unified, he would shut the hate up. Okay. He would shut all the hate up. He wouldn't be going after people. He wouldn't be taking them out of the farms and stuff and saying they're criminals and all this shit. No, they're not. You know what I mean? He's bringing all the hate to us. So we have to shove it right back in his face. He is the Triple K, and we have to bring him out of the Triple K. We have to, take this shit out.
You see President Trump himself as the Triple K?
Hello? He's bringing the hate. He's allowing them to sound. All the hate. He's bringing it. The sheriff. And he's not even condoning it. He's not saying, hey, you know what? Stop the shit. No. He's bringing it. He's bringing everything to light. All the hate. This country was built on hate. Right. And he's bringing it back to light. He's letting the maggots come and showing them the hate.
All right, Gangsta Grandma. And by the way, Creed said, I bet when you get pulled over by the cops, you start acting white. I got to move on.
No, let me tell you something. No, let me answer this shit. Let me tell you something. A damn cop killed my brother. Okay? So shut the fuck up, I sound. No. They know what color I am, and I don't back down from the po-po. So get the fuck out of here. I ain't like you. I don't run. So shut the fuck up about that shit. I can't stand the po-po, and I never will be one. And I don't like the black and brown ones because they're allowing this shit to go down. So fuck you, fuck your mama that said this shit. I'm never going to be a Karen. And I stand 10 toes down.
Gangsta Grandma? Always a pleasure. Thank you for coming through.
Good day, love.
You too. She does stand 10 toes down. I don't think that's even up for debate. She definitely sticks by her side. Now, when I say we don't block, ban, or censor, I think she makes the perfect example each time. Nevertheless, if you enjoy conversation like this from all sides of the aisle, because if MAGA comes on the show and they're equally as critical, they'll be allowed to speak as well. So a lot of folks watch the show and you only take liberals. No, most of the folks who call in are liberal. I can't control who calls in, but we don't run from any guests because you got an adverse opinion, or if you agree, so be it. But as you've seen there, she certainly is critical of me all the damn time. Somebody said in the comments, Tim loves his haters. Listen, I love the viewers. I love the callers. I thank you all for support. Certainly the ones that supports the show. Helps out because I got like 4 cameras aimed at me. This stuff does cost a little bit. So, yeah, I appreciate the super chats. If a galaxy every now and then, thank you. But, yeah, we don't believe in censorship. So if you like uncensored speech, I will ask that I ask all the time. Follow the program if you're watching on Instagram, TikTok. We do run on Clapper as well sometimes because you can take live callers there. So if you have Clapper, follow me on Clapper, and if the numbers get up higher, we'll start doing more lives on Clapper. But we are also on Clapper. All of these platforms, the Handsome Liberal, every one of them are named the same thing. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, give your guy a subscription. It helps out the algorithm. Once again, we are, always have been, always will be MAGA friendly. Understand that. We are MAGA friendly regardless of what opinion you hear. Liberals are welcome on the program as well. Looking in the comments real quick. You sound soup lady. You know? Average people pink me. I look like I don't know what you're saying. The problem is they don't want to admit the real problem, so they blame everybody. The white police officers, they blame the black police officers. They just won't take accountability. Kevin, I don't totally disagree with you. There is plenty of problems in black communities that sometimes accountability is lacking. However, to pretend like it's only people in the community not taking accountability and the cops are just doing everything right, and there is a lot of wrongdoing from the police department. I'm just going to make that clear. It ain't that the cops are all good and the citizens are all bad and not taking accountability. There are plenty of bad cops. I mean, look, I'll agree that most cops are good in terms of well, let's just say it like this. Most cops are law-abiding. But I do believe most law-abiding cops know of somebody else that is either breaking the law or has broke the law, and they didn't say shit about it. The blue wall of silence is real. This is the same thing they tell folks in the hood. Well, we can't fix your hood if you guys are all keeping quiet and refusing to snitch on drug dealers and criminals. I once had a cop on a Fox News show I was calling in. I think it was Tom Sullivan is the guy's name. And he used to be a state trooper back in the 70s, but he was hosting Fox News Talk. And he ran that by me. I used to call into his show all the time and debate. And he said, one of the problems in the urban areas is you guys won't help us, won't cooperate with police in getting rid of some of the bad guys. And I told him, I said, well, you were former law enforcement. I said, you guys don't snitch on bad cops either. You don't do it. How you gonna tell people in the hood they should snitch on each other to help eradicate people who are, flawed people within the community when you don't do it? You don't snitch on bad cops, and he did acknowledge and agree that was true. Because they don't snitch either. So you want to get rid of snitching, it's got to start within the ranks of you. Looking at the comments, Granny is the epitome of a libturd, says Dirty Money. Happy Father's Day weekend, brother. I'm going to play UFC 5. Not bad. Thank you, by the way, as well. Appreciate that. Let me go back to the box. Gen X. If Gen X is here, I'll go to the box, but I certainly would like to talk to Gen X because he certainly got a lot of attention for his statement on YouTube. Tap the screen, folks. Get the likes on up. I'll see if I can move on with the show. The people in the hood that don't snitch is because they are afraid of retaliation. That's the same thing on the police department, though, Richard, Andrew, Crosby. It's the exact same thing on the police department, is they're afraid of retaliation as well. So the white man loves you, says no friend. I don't know what that means. Mandated vaccine, Democrats sound like a wannabe. I think if Kennedy decided some vaccination was needed, the right would agree with that. By the way, mandated vaccines how many of you folks, when you went to school, if you're Gen X like I am, 70s, 80s, you went to school, you had to get shots. Did you get your measles, mumps, rubella shot? You couldn't go to school without your shots. We've had mandatory vaccines for quite a while in this country, long before the pandemic of 2020. Long before that. I remember being a kid in school, you had to get your shots before you went to school. I don't know why all of a sudden during the pandemic it became some kind of major event to require vaccinations. That's been around for a long time. You still have to get your vaccine, says LB Dink. Yeah. So I don't know why it became a liberal issue. It's always been around. I tried to bring up, what did you call it? Gen X, but I don't think he wanted to come through. Anyway, continuing on, not for a man-made disease, says Johnny 11. Are you sure that none of those other diseases were man-made? Did you really know? Polio, smallpox, are you 100% certain none of that was man-made? Those shots, you only get one. Those shots you only get one time. How many times since you've been to school have you had those shots? Well, even the one vaccination there were problems with. Long before the booster shots, they had a problem with the first COVID vaccine they had a problem with. Then, of course, they had a problem with all the booster shots and stuff as well, but they had a problem with the first one too. They did not accept vaccines because of their racism. Was that the reason? I don't know. I know, listen, Trump was in office. Trump is the one that created Operation Warp Speed. Trump is the reason the vaccine came about. Dr. Fauci ain't black or Hispanic. Is he Jewish? Dr. Fauci is a white guy, ain't he? So I don't know about racism. I don't know about that. Are you proud of yourself yet, says Pilo. You got to elaborate more on that. Proud of myself in what way? The point is, we were children. We didn't have a say about the vaccines when we were kids before school. Our parents did. We are now adults and are free to make any decisions we want. The parents had the same freedoms you have now, Frankie Pez, and they weren't anti-vax. And as a result, the vax had pretty much eradicated smallpox, gotten rid of measles. I mean, it's really been a help for chickenpox. I don't see why people jumped up and started saying you can't trust the medical community all of a sudden. I still, even now, I would assume that at least 20% of the world's population, at least 20%, because in countries like America, over half of us have been vaccinated. If the vaccines were that bad, you would see some serious evidence of it. Serious evidence of it. I don't see it. Yeah, I'm sure it's not perfect. I'm sure some people have had a reaction, but when you think about the fact that in a country of 350 million people, well over 100 million Americans have been vaccinated, you should see some serious repercussions. Well, heart disease is one up, or I'm seeing... No, you should see tens of millions of people going through problems. Not just a few thousand here or there. It should be tens of... I mean, you could probably find the same thing if you look up what has happened, the number of people that have taken an aspirin. Some of them have had bleeding issues and intestinal stomach issues and things like that. But overall, if you take an aspirin, you'll be fine. I mean, when you think about the millions of people that have been vaccinated, it should be tens of millions of people that have had side effects. I haven't heard about it. I haven't heard the medical community isn't saying that. They're just all lying and hiding all this misery. Even though Trump is in office, they're still hiding the misery. I don't even hear Kennedy talking about this widespread amount of misery that's affecting millions of people. He's not even talking about it. I haven't heard Trump say it. In fact, Trump is suggesting that you get vaccinated. Why would he do that if it's that bad? 92% of people are vaccinated in the USA. Wow. Americans are undereducated, period. I didn't know it was that high, huh? LB things and stuff says 92% of people are vaccinated. Yeah. So if you're talking you're talking over 300 million people been vaccinated. You should have you shouldn't have room in hospitals. Whatever the side effect is, the alleged side effect that's so bad, you should have hundreds of millions of people dealing with that side effect. If it was that bad, you know about it. If it was, I had one of my friends that is MAGA tell me that I was going to pass away in the winter of 2021 due to the vaccine. He thought it was poison. He thought it was going to be a widespread amount of deaths, and it was in place to thin the herd. Every time I talk to him, I bring that up. I'm still alive almost 4 years later. Well, it's going to happen one day. Anyway, looking in the comments, I believe we are seeing serious evidence of the side effects of vaccines on the live stream. Okay, that's different. We're all alive, though. What an insult to the Democratic Party. Said it's racist. Voting is racist because no black people have an ID card. Look, I'm going to get ready to end the program, but I do want to say in regards to that comment, I'll take a few comments, but voting ID, I don't think there's any excuse for a full-grown adult to not have an ID to vote. I just don't. I think if you want to vote, you should have. I'm 100% behind requiring an ID to vote. However, I believe the government should just give it away for free. When you go get your driver's license, like right now they just passed a law, you got to have this star or whatever on your driver's license to fly, or your state ID, you got to have this so you can get on an airplane. I think they should do the same damn thing when it comes to voting. When you go to the DMV to renew your driver's license or your state ID or whatever, that at that time they should stamp something on your driver's license that now makes that a legitimate method to vote. You can get the birth certificate to prove they're an American citizen and all of that stuff right there, then and now. That's your voter ID. Doesn't cost. It should not cost the public a penny. Just like with firearms, shall not be infringed. Voting rights shall not be infringed on. They need to take that moniker with voting rights. You should not be infringing on people's voting rights. Shouldn't cost you any money to be able to vote. It's simple as that. Give the IDs away for free. Now, I don't think the right would agree with that part of it. They want the voter ID, but they want the hurdle in place, even though it's a minor hurdle. It doesn't take much to get an ID. $4 or $5 or whatever. But it is a hurdle. It is a hurdle. And I think the right likes voting hurdles in place, which is why anytime you hear someone making it easier to vote, which could include fraud, the easier you make it to vote, the easier it is to vote, the greater the chance that somebody can vote fraudulently. Mail-in votes, voting without ID, just the easier it is to vote, the easier it is to commit fraud. But fact is, the Democrats want to make it easier to vote. Anytime you hear somebody trying to pass a law that makes voting easier, it's usually Democrats. As I said, it can possibly increase people who are fraudulent getting through easier. However, there is a flip side. Anytime you hear somebody trying to make it harder to vote, it's usually Republicans. Closing polling places so that the lines are longer in the few ones that are open, limiting polling time so you only have a limited amount of time to vote, require an ID, signature match, all of this stuff. Anytime you hear somebody making it harder to vote, it's usually a Republican. Now, making it harder to vote lessens the likelihood of fraud, but the downside is it increases the likelihood that somebody who legitimately should have been allowed to vote is not being allowed to. So what it's doing is it's taking the rights of actual voters away. So the Democrats make it easier to commit fraud. The right makes it harder to legally vote. I don't want to stand in an 8-hour line. Fuck it, I'm going home. That was a person who legally could have voted that decided to go home. Or I'm sick, I can't go in, I want to mail in my vote. We don't want to have mail-in votes. So that person that may be disabled who would have normally voted, due to the hurdle of requiring them to go to a poll, they didn't vote. So the right makes it harder for legal people to vote. So there is good and bad in both sides. But yeah, anytime you hear somebody making it easier to vote, it's usually a Democrat. Anytime you hear somebody making it harder to vote, it's usually a Republican. And there's a reason why. Higher turnout usually works for the Democrats. Lower turnout usually works out for the Republican Party. All of that's voter suppression or cheating to some degree, however you want to refer to it. But both sides do fuck with the way you vote to benefit their side. Looking in the comments, Tim, Supercell Future says, Happy Father's Day. Thank you, bro. Also, that what happened to Will G, my man. I've seen him in here a few times, Supercell. He was in here day before yesterday. I don't see him as much. I don't see him as much, Will G anymore. I don't know what has happened to him. One day he came in here and he said he was watching the playoffs. Right now the NBA playoffs are going on, and unfortunately a lot of my lives at night are in the way of that. And he said that was one reason, but he was in here a couple days ago, but nowhere near as much anymore. Violence begets violence, says Daniel Berg. It is what it is. And I agree with you. Kevin GR says you're disabled and you're already registered disabled. You should definitely be allowed to mail your vote in, but if you're capable of standing in line and voting on voting day, I don't agree with that. I don't agree that you should have to stand in line to vote. I don't agree that whether it's mail-in voting, whether it's voting via the internet, you can do a lot of shit in this country that people who are criminal and fraudulent would want to commit fraud in, and you can still do. You can buy a whole fucking house online. You can do your taxes through the mail. You can send money back. Why is voting off limits? You can do a whole lot of shit that people trust through the mail. Look how much money is being moved through crypto. You don't have a problem doing that, but you don't want somebody to vote. That is done simply as a hurdle. It's not that you can't make voting online safe. It's that we want to force those people to come down to vote because it will incentivize, or better yet, disincentivize some of them from doing it. We want to make it harder to vote because it will likely result in some people not voting. That's the only, look, you got everything from fingerprint scanners that could be connected to your computer to facial recognition. You're going to tell me the only way you can vote safely is to walk up to a human being who does not have anywhere near the fraud detection capabilities as a computer? Me voting with some old lady at a polling place is safer than a computer. I don't buy that. I don't buy that. You can make a fake ID and go to a polling place and do it as well. The goal is to, as you said, stand in line. We want you to come down here and make their asses stand in line, because some of them ain't gonna want to do that. That's why they had the law. They were trying to suggest that if you hand somebody a bottle of water while they're waiting in line, it's a crime. We want it to be hard. We want you to be hot. We want you to want to get out of this fucking line and not vote. That's the goal of it. You're trying to make voting harder. They're shutting down polling places. They had some counties where it was only like 1 or 2 polling places. There's no damn reason in the age where we are technologically right now that somebody should be in line for 8 hours to vote. There's just no legitimate reason for that. That is intentional. That is done intentional. There's no reason for somebody to be in line for 8 hours to do that. Allow them to mail in their votes, increase the amount of time that they can vote. There's all sorts of things you could do if you really wanted to fix that. You don't want to fix it. You want that. And I'll tell you this, look at where it's happening. Look at where that stuff is happening. It's typically in Democratic cities that are part of Republican states. Because the governor is what controls this stuff. The states are what controls it. So the Republican governors are trying to reduce the voting in the Democratic cities in their states. Most of those places where you have those long lines are in Democratic cities that happen to be in Republican states. A Democratic governor would open up more polling places, would increase the length of time the polling places open so you could vote. It's intentional. That's all I'm trying to say. It's intentional to prevent you or to incentivize you to get out of the line. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make you not want to vote. When you apply online to government jobs, you have to prove your citizenship by Govs. Yeah. And I would say this too. If there's this much fraud in voting, why aren't they showing you all the fraudsters? Why aren't they showing you all the illegal immigrants they caught voting? Why do they just have to tell you it's happening but provide no proof? Remember, this is the whole reason Trump allegedly won the 2020 election, is that a whole lot of people were voting that should not have been allowed to. Why aren't they showing you those people? Trump is in power now. He could be just like with we're deporting rapists and murderers. Why aren't you showing us all these people? You got them in custody, you're deporting them. You could easily show us on an internet site, here is the 300 people we deported today, and here is their criminal history. Could easily do that. Could easily go on whitehouse.gov and type that in real quick. Why aren't they showing any of that stuff? The person doesn't have any right to criminal history privacy. They're in the country illegally. Why aren't they they showed you who took the life of Lincoln Riley. They actually show you when an illegal immigrant does something fraudulent. They don't mind telling you. The reason they're not telling you because it ain't happening. It ain't happening to that level. Because there isn't any voting fraud. Instead, they got rid of over 2 million ballots for Kamala. I do agree that the voting fraud claims are incredibly exaggerated. Incredibly. Mike, welcome to the program. Mike, are you out and about? Are you at any of these protests? Mike, are you there? You got a bad signal, Mike. Are you there? Okay, apparently, Mike, I can't get you in there. I got a bad signal. We don't realize that our precious little grandchildren are becoming targets. What do you mean by that? You got to elaborate. How are our grandchildren becoming targets, and what are they becoming targets of? Invest says deport them all. I think there's a t-shirt that says that. I'll tell you this, why don't they just do that? Why don't they just come up and actually say that? Our goal is to deport them all. Why make up all of the bullshit lies about them being rapists and murder? Why not just say that? Our goal is to deport them all. I mean, because I think everybody knows at this point that the reasons they're given are not true. Just come out and say, we just want to get rid of all these people. In my opinion, be honest about it. Throw that that replacement theory is what I'm looking for. Why not just say that? Why not just say at the end of the day, the birth rate among certain groups is low, other groups is high, and it's causing the minority population to end up being the majority. We got a problem with that, and we're doing what we can to correct that. I mean, just I think everybody knows at this point what's going on. It's just not being called that. Just be clear that replacement theory is a concern, and we're doing what we can to reverse it. I mean, because I think everybody knows that. This guy here is still, I'm still in shock about this guy.
If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play.
Notice he never used the word stop the threat, not once. He went straight to beating, putting you in the hospital, and killing you. The goal of police is to stop the threat. If you throw a rock at a police or a brick or something, it's potentially lethal. We talked about that. But once you do not have the rock anymore, you're not a lethal threat. He never said stop the threat. Do you see this guy as somebody who will only use violence as a last resort? Does he sound like somebody who would only resort to lethal force as a last resort? Sounds like that's the first place he would start, is being violent. Same thing with spitting on a cop. If you spit on a cop, that is assault. But that doesn't mean they have to beat your ass, as he stated. You're going to be I think he said you'll be in a hospital if you spit on cops. 4 or 5 cops standing around, they can't take you to the ground, put a spit mask on you, hog tie you, and throw you in the back of the car and drive off. They have to put you in the hospital? That's the only, I mean, look, like I said, I'm not saying that he would not be allowed to do what he's saying, because he would be allowed to do it, certainly in Florida. But it's pretty clear he's choosing violence. He is literally choosing violence. He's not using violence as a last resort. He's choosing it as a first resort. And in the comments, B. Gross said, secure borders are now white supremacy. That ain't what's happening, B. Goss. That's not what's happening. When you start getting rid of temporary protected status, when you start kicking out people that's been here for 50 years, that's not securing the border. That's not what's actually happening. That's what they're telling you they're doing, is securing the border. But then they're going all around the country and deporting everybody they can get there. You're gonna tell me when you deport a child that's receiving cancer treatments, in the middle of the treatments, that's being done to secure the border? That ain't got nothing to do with securing the border. They went way beyond. Now, some of his things are securing the border. Yeah, some of that stuff is securing the border. I think you should have to be vetted before you come to the country. You know, if you're coming seeking asylum, you should have a legitimate claim. Some of that, but some of the stuff he's doing has nothing to do with securing the border. Most, hanging around Home Depot, that ain't, going into schools and deporting kids, that ain't securing the border. You're trying to tell me out of the thousands and thousands of people that have been arrested and deported, all of them were a threat to the country and the country's border. Even when you got Trump getting on social media saying that we've been too aggressive and we got to bring some of these people back because folks in the hotel and in the farming industry is saying you're taking away too many of our workers. It ain't securing the border. It's just it's a cure for replacement theory. Just admit what it is. You can listen, if you lie about it, it helps to get more support, because everybody wants violent criminals out of the country. But all you got to do is watch TV, and it's pretty clear you're seeing people that are being taken out of the country that are not violent criminals. That's obviously not the only people getting kicked out. Mike, good evening. Welcome to the program. And I even would say what Nicholas Reyes in the comments says, kick those illegals out. Everybody getting kicked out are not even here illegally. I mean, they're kicking out plenty of people that are here legally. Mike, good evening. Or afternoon, rather.
What's going on, Tim?
Terrible, terrible day. I'm sure you've heard about the Minnesota politicians that have been.
Yep. Yes, I have.
I was asking earlier, should they stop the parade and the No King's Day protest? Should they stop that stuff?
No. Well, should they? I don't know, Tim. I mean, at the end of the day, we're watching. This is, and I ain't gonna say the culmination. This is a byproduct of all this messaging for the last. It is what it is at this point. People can make excuses for what they're watching right now until the cows come home. This is the ultimate goal that everyone's been ignoring, and now we're here, and people are being.
You were gonna say people are being unalive. You dropped out.
And
are you there?
no, I said people are being unalive. Yeah, I'm here. People are being unalive. People are being unalived behind this, and they'll ultimately try to make excuses for it. But the bottom line is, this is the rhetoric. This is what happens. That sheriff in Florida, what did he say different than what Trump has been promoting?
Yeah.
I'll wait.
Yeah.
What did he say differently when he said big beautiful dogs, big beautiful bill, big beautiful arm? He's supposed to be de-escalating, and everything he said was escalation. Everything.
Yeah, I gotta say, they often say teachers and educators, reporters, you should not know what their political affiliation is. Is there anybody that looks at that cop and has any doubt in their mind who he voted for? I mean, yeah, I think everybody knows that cop is MAGA.
He's and you said it, MAGA, right?
Yeah.
And because again, he doesn't even have enough intestinal fortitude as a sheriff of a county. He's always felt like that. He just feels emboldened to say it. Yeah. So now you got to ask yourself, if you go back and look at the arrest record in that county, if you go back and look at any people that have filed complaints in that county, how legitimate do you think excessive abuse in officers are in that county based on that sheriff? We need to tell these stories, because who you think he's talking to, Jim? Although he might as well have went and said it. He said everything else. He may as well have said who he's
talking to. Woke, BLM, people of color, anti-Trump. He don't. That guy would likely be defending the protesters on January 6th. He would not have the same attitude towards the protesters he's talking about right now. If you asked him about Ashley Babbitt, I guarantee his tune would change, and he would all of a sudden be defending her.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And so, you spit on us, you go to the hospital. So basically, you're telling us that you're going to beat the brakes off of somebody because they do something, but you're supposed to be law enforcement. You're supposed to be de-escalating. You're supposed to be the example of how these things are supposed to be done the right way. But nope, he literally just said, and even Johnny 11 in the comments, Johnny, you are part of the problem, man. At the end of the day, out of everything going on right now, you guys are still holding on to your racism and your white supremacy. And when we say that and you guys get angry because we say that, your actions mimic the behavior. Mm. Your support mimics the problem. Tim, I told you this a long time ago. They're either racist, they're white supremacists, they support it, and there's no getting around it. And as the days and weeks go on, it's getting harder and harder to find room to give people. It gets harder and harder to say, well, maybe that's not them. I have never once heard of people that come on your show like this shit today. They should be denouncing this. They won't denounce it. They'll make excuses.
Did you hear, man, you talking about not denouncing it. You weren't here did you hear what Gen X said? My God. Now, I asked, when I started the live off, it's been about an hour or so, an hour and a half ago or so, but I started the live off by asking just exactly what I've been asking you and all the other callers. In light of what has happened with these politicians being killed, should we cancel both the military parade and the No King's Day protest? And his response was, cancel the parade because some liberals got taken out. He says, in caps, hell no. That's a great reason to have another parade. And then he has smiling emojis.
Yeah, and again, they feel like that. Listen, they feel like that. That's why I said what I said. And do we think it's going to get better? Do we think? Listen, Trump came out and made a statement. Tell me one thing he said in this statement that was unified. Tell me one. Matter of fact, tell me. I've asked you this before. Tell me one thing you've heard come out of his mouth that has been unified.
Talking about Trump?
Yes.
Well, his campaign slogan, America First, it should be, I mean, he's talking about our country first. I mean, that should be a unifying slogan, but it's not being used in that way.
No, of course not, Tim. And tell me one thing he's done that puts America first. Israel's not America first. You know, that's not America first. Going over the Middle East and coming back with billions of dollars in a jet, that's not America first. None of his, listen, the border is not America first. Nothing. I was just listening to you. And initially you gave him a bunch of credit on the border. Now I see that you're looking at it differently these days because we look at the harm that's happening. He's walking back what he's doing to businesses and hurting people, but it's too late for some people. It's too late for his supporters. They're engaged. They're trenched in, you know, like the Johnnies and the MAGAs. They're not going to budge for humanity. Where is our fucking human decency? That shit is gone. That shit is gone. It doesn't matter right, left. That shit is gone. And we're watching it unfold right now. Tim, are we listening to the words we're using in 2025? King protest. King.
Well, he said he's not trying to be a king, though.
Yeah, but listen, why? I know that's what he's saying, but he's also said there were a lot of shit that he's doing.
Yeah.
He also put Iran out there. He didn't have to do it that way. See, here's the thing, Tim. I told you he was mediocre from the beginning. I told you he was feckless from the beginning, and you looked at me. Come on, if he had the strength that everybody says he has, Israel would have never done that because he could have intervened.
Yeah, he did say all these wars would never have happened if he was president when Biden. Now all of a sudden, yeah, Israel, he gets up there and says, well, Israel told us we're not involved in it. So clearly they would, if Israel would attack Iran under your watch, then they would certainly have attacked Gaza under your watch. I mean,
what are we talking about? Either he's the strong leader that we say he is, and he can make Putin and Zelensky, and he can stop that in 24 hours, and all, you know, the world was exploding when Biden was in office. We didn't see anything like this when Biden was in office. Matter of fact, we haven't seen anything like this since Bush was in office.
Well, I think it's that, listen, at the end of the day, they believe Trump has a significantly better path for America than Kamala or Biden. So it doesn't matter if Trump says something and doesn't do it or fucks up over here or missteps over there. He's always going to look better than Kamala Harris or Biden.
So then the answer is, so based on that, there is no true answer. Based on what you just said, and I don't disagree.
Hold on one second. I'll let you continue. But I always enjoy the criticism, and I want to get down to the point of it. Lodi in the comments says, this channel is an absolute joke. Y'all are a bunch of hypocrites. Lodi, feel free to elaborate. Let me know what you think we're being hypocritical on. I will address it if I see it. Lodi, thanks for the input. Go ahead.
Tim, I'm interested in the hypocrisy too. Because here's the one thing. Not one Trump supporter can equate what we're watching right now to any other president. It's bullshit. If you try to do it, that's because you can't get out of your own fucking way because you are so ingrained into this man that you're worshiping. Because I told you, cult shit, Tim. I've been telling you this shit for months. Because if you continue to excuse this, just like what Gen X said, a lot of people feel like that. Listen, here's the thing. And we're at a point where if you don't denounce it, you support it. You permit what you promote. That's what the fuck it is.
Yeah, but then I'm going to ask it. And then if you're going to say those who do not denounce the assassination of these two people, if you don't denounce it, you support it. How many liberals did not denounce Trump's assassination attempt? Does that mean they supported it?
No, that's not what I'm saying, Tim.
What are you saying?
That's not what I'm saying at all. But here's the thing. I'm glad you brought that up. And that whole thing about this, there were a lot of people thinking it was conspiracy, thinking that it was staged and all. That's one thing. They
still are saying that. They still are saying he had a pack of ketchup in his hand.
And again, if you want to debate the who's and the whys, but the action itself, the action of somebody wanting to see him unalive. Yeah, I denounced that too. I did from the beginning. Listen, you can't live your life in your own integrity based on somebody else. You know, as much as I despise everything Trump stands for, I'm not sitting over here, and I never have, wishing that man was unalive, because that's just, I don't believe that that's the right way to approach people. But I support zero about it. Zero. And his supporters. But at the end of the day, they won't say it's wrong. They won't say any of that shit. Well, when this happened, or the libs and this, and I'm like, you know what? That's why whoever did this did what they did. And there's no taking it back. And I don't believe that this happens without Trump's continued assertion of division, of demonizing, and I've been using that word for years now, the right and black and brown and all this, and it came to a head, and we're not done. And for those that go, well, as soon as you say that shit, you are exactly what I'm saying you are. You believe in those things, because if you can't find a moment to go, this is bullshit and enough is enough, because Trump has not been unifying. And I would challenge anybody, show me one time where he said he's unifying. He didn't even come out in his statement. He's not going to say we're all Americans, because he doesn't believe it. It doesn't go with his slogan. All that America first and make America great again, it is exactly what we've been telling you it's been about for decades. It is exactly what we've been talking about, and we're seeing it play out firsthand. We wanted to obfuscate our responsibilities with Israel attacking Iran, and we knew what was going on from the very fucking beginning. We knew exactly what was going to happen, and then people want to act like, because here's the thing, Tim, what happened to America first, but now they're talking about Greenland again, and we're talking about Gaza, and it, that's a great resort. That's going to be a great resort. All the deals.
Let me ask you this though. What you talking about Greenland? Obviously, what's going on with Iran now? How long before we do start having countries team up, like an Axis versus allies? I mean, we know America is working with the Israelis, even though nobody else is. The minute Iran started attacking the Israelis back, even though the Trump administration was trying to indicate that they weren't taking part in it, the minute Iran started launching missiles back at Israel, America immediately started shooting them down. So you're involved in this. And then when we're trying to suggest, well, we want the Iranians to come and come to the table about this nuclear deal or whatever the case is going on, it's like, why would you literally are the enemy at this point. Why would the Iranians talk to Trump or the Americans at all? I mean, you literally got in the way of a fight I'm having with the enemy and defended the enemy. So why would they? And he's also the guy that canceled Obama's nuclear deal. So regardless if you agree or disagree with it, why would the Iranians talk to America at this point? We clearly are biased in the whole event.
You said you've been saying that for the longest. Why would you sit down and negotiate with somebody after you're watching how they're handling other allies? Why the fuck would you do that? He's shown his propensity to be exactly who he says he is. Liar, cheater, can't be trusted. He'll say one thing today, he'll say another thing. If we weren't involved, why would you come out and make a statement about, well, I told them they had 60 days, and today's day 61.
He even referred to Israeli strike as excellent.
Yes. So that's what I'm saying. No de-escalation, nothing. Ever. It's all about white supremacy and money. And that's all it's been about. And everybody wants, and again, I challenge anybody. Show me where I'm wrong. Show me where we're not seeing what we're seeing. You can call it whatever you want. But there's nothing positive happening for anyone right now other than his, and not even his supporters. The billionaires in the agenda are what's being fanned and supported. Not even his supporters. They're not going to get a dime out of this. You think the money he says we saved on tariffs is going to trickle down to Johnny 11? You think that? I mean, you know what, Tim? You know what frustrates me so much is because I love people, all people. I don't give a shit about all of that. I never have. It frustrates me that white America is not enraged by what they're seeing in the middle class. I understand that the rich don't give a fuck. They never have. They never have. So we're not surprised by that. But
Why would white America will benefit from what Trump is doing? Why would they have, I mean, if he's kicking out immigrants, they believe they'll get those jobs. Obviously, what I said about replacement theory is in play. I mean, if all of a sudden white America, because Trump has stated, and I believe via Bannon and some of these other folks, that they believe in this country, and I get viewers that say it also, that white America are the ones that are being discriminated against and mistreated. And Trump has stated before becoming president that would not happen under his watch. So he's making it clear he's going to be a pro-white president. Why would white America not like that?
because he's just saying it to mobilize them behind their ideologies. Listen. If that were true, and the immigrants are the problem, and we need to get them out of here because they're taking our jobs, why the fuck did he just turn around and say we should get rid of all of them? Because all those jobs are there. Those people, because the Americans didn't want them jobs in the first fucking place, Tim.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand why they're not seeing this. And it's sad that some people needed to literally touch their doorstep. It could touch their neighbor, and they still won't believe it's true. Like, if what what Trump has been saying is true, why is he backpedaling on damn near all of the shit?
Yeah.
Tariffs. Listen, tariffs, deportation, Russia, Ukraine, this whole Iran thing. Tim, where are the W's for the American people? All this money being spent, people talking about waste and abuse and fraud. Point to California. All the money wasted with the Marines and National Guard. Point to this stupid ass parade. People aren't understanding that money's got to come from somewhere. So you think we have a deficit now? Get your ass on the phone and talk about Social Security right now.
That's why they lowered our credit rating, because they said the same thing. They don't think that we seem serious about lowering the deficit. I mean, and they use that as the reason why they lowered our credit rate. I got to move it on, though, Mike.
I know you got to move it on. I'm gonna say this last thing. Listen, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, and I would say the exact same thing if this were happening on the left. I was pissed. What was his name that I got pew during the softball game?
Oh yeah, dude. It was Scalise, or I know you're talking about.
Scalise.
Yeah.
Scalise. And what did the president do at that time? Came out and said, "This has got to stop. We got to lower the temperature. This is ridiculous."
Yeah.
He did that.
Now I've been on for a couple hours now. Has Trump issued a statement yet in regards to this?
Yeah, he issued one a while ago.
What did he say?
And again, it wasn't unifying. It was from the White House. You know, they're gonna pursue they're gonna prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law. Blah blah blah. Nothing unifying, Tim. Not one word about unification. Not one word about this shit has gone too far, because to them, it hasn't gone far enough. And to the supporters, it hasn't gone far enough. So my question to them is, if you're truly an American and a U.S. citizen, what's too far? What's too far? I mean, hell, what's too far? We put all this emphasis on riots here in California that aren't happening, on these protests that's not happening. You know, Tim, you and I were on a live the other night where people are manufacturing shit that's not even fucking true.
There's a lot of that.
A lot of that. Me and Tim were on a live and somebody said there were 500 cars that got burned down.
The person is claiming that the rioters in LA have burned as many as 30 homes and 500 cars have been burned in the riots in LA. Yeah, that's not even remotely true. That's not even remotely true.
Tell your people the supporting evidence they put up on the screen.
Yeah, from wildfires and other events in the past. Yeah. All right, Mike. But yeah, that was crazy. That was fun times. Ridiculous. But people believe that the rioters are setting as many as, it's a small area in downtown Los Angeles. 500 cars, insane. But they believe it. Thanks, Mike. All right, moving on with the program. I don't know what I just hit there, but tap the screen. We might be able to get up to about 80,000 if you guys would tap the screen. No water put out fires. I don't know what that means. I'm pretty sure I called the cops, so you'll be dismissed. All right, liberal annihilation is beautiful. I don't mind free speech, but when you start just talking crazy shit like that, you're bored. I don't let you say a lot of things. Liberal annihilation is beautiful. Let's keep it that way. Don't get crazy now. I don't block. I can count on one hand how many people I've had to block on the program over the years. I am that much in favor of free speech, but you're basically talking about doxing and all that kind of shit. Keep it somewhat civil. God damn. What is 6'9"? We all have heard the term 8647. Somebody put in 6947. I haven't seen that one yet. That is hilarious. Real quick, I did want to hear this. I haven't heard this yet, but this is in reference to what me and my last caller was just speaking on. I want to hear this though. See if I can. I want to hear this statement coming from President Trump.
Statement right now, just some impact too of what we're hearing. I mean, the president is chiming in on this right now. We just got this statement from the social platform X of the president. Today is 79th birthday. He is talking about this right now. This is what President Trump says. I have been briefed on the terrible shooting that took place in Minnesota, which appears to be a targeted attack against state lawmakers. Our Attorney General, Pam Bondi, and the FBI are investigating the situation, and they will be prosecuting anyone involved to the fullest extent of the law and such a horrific violence. It will not be tolerated in the United States of America. God bless the great people of Minnesota, a truly great place. So you are seeing major solidarity here from the President of the United States.
That's not a bad statement. I don't see anything wrong with that statement. Then, go ahead and look at it again. Especially for Trump, that's fairly unifying. I have been briefed on the terrible shooting that took place in Minnesota, which appears to be a targeted attack against state lawmakers. He didn't try to downplay it or deny it. He's basically making it sound like they were targeted. They are liberals. He says, our Attorney General Pam Bondi and the FBI are investigating the situation, and they will be prosecuting anyone involved to the fullest extent of the law. Such horrific violence would not be tolerated in the United States of America. God bless the great people of Minnesota, liberal state, a truly great place. I don't see anything. Coming from Trump, that's impressive. In fact, that ain't just a good statement. That's impressive coming from Trump. Now, that's not to say he won't say more shit in the future, but I don't see any problem with that. That's better than what you normally hear from Trump. Yet you were okay with grandma and her hate, says Sheldon Walsh. Have you not read some of the comments of people talking about we need to have more? Sheldon, did you not hear me reading Gen X's comments suggesting we should throw another parade that two liberals were being? Gangsta Grandma ain't the only one in the comments saying, wow, shit. She's just the only one that comes up. You're on YouTube. Read some of the comments coming above and below what you're saying. I've saw at least 3 uses of the N-word. I just haven't brought them up. So if you're only hearing against the grandma and you're ignoring all that other shit, then you're not seeing everything. It happened because leftists are promoting political violence. You're telling me, to Core 88, that the leftists are promoting political violence so much that somebody decided to go to the home of a sitting senator in the middle of the night and kill him. And you're blaming that on the left. Okay. All right. Minnesota is only liberal in the large. Yeah, every state is like that. He said Minnesota is only liberal in the large populated areas. Go 20 miles outside of Minnesota, large city, and it's Trump 100%. That's every state in the union. If you go, a few minutes outside of the large areas, it gets red really quick. The problem is ain't nobody living there. You get 20 minutes outside of Minnesota, the population drops off like a fucking cliff. Outside, if you took out the Minneapolis area and the St. Paul area, if you took that out of the map for Minnesota, the state would go fucking bankrupt. That's where all the money is coming from. So where the main airport is at. All the professional teams, that's where all the fucking hotel industry. If you got rid of that, the state would go bankrupt. So yeah, outside of the big city, it's MAGA, but it's also broke and heavily unpopulated. Get rid of go outside of the area. Yeah, go outside of the area and you're not looking at anything but open land. Everyone should vote for Democrats. America will be better off by far, says Edison Martinez. Well, it depends on what your principles are. I played this earlier. I do want to play this again because some of you folks didn't hear this. Now this is the one and only Bill O'Reilly. You've known him from Fox News. obviously been in journalism, shit, 50 years, 30 years at least that we know of. Anyway, he did he has his own podcast on YouTube now. And he's on News Nation with Cuomo, Geraldo, and Stephen A. and all them. I watch a lot of that. But anyway, he did a YouTube video titled, "Why Do People Hate Trump?" Now, Bill O'Reilly's been a friend of Trump 30 plus years. In fact, recently on News Nation, Bill O'Reilly, Chris Cuomo, formerly of CNN, and Stephen A. Smith, you know him from ESPN, they all interviewed Trump. Got to interview him and ask him questions for about a half hour. And the only reason Trump was there is because Bill O'Reilly invited him there. Bill O'Reilly's a longtime friend of President Trump. Anyway, this is a video from Bill O'Reilly on why do people hate Trump. I'm only going to play a very short period of it, but I think it's worth a listen for those who haven't heard it yet.
So there are two reasons for the hatred, two primary reasons. Number one, Donald Trump totally rejects liberal policies and woke. There isn't one I can find that he supports. He didn't used to be that way. He was a registered Democrat in New York City. But now there's nothing on the left that he likes. And two is his demeanor. He's in your face. He does not speak precisely. He exaggerates, he brags, and he is putting on a show many times in the public arena. Those of us who know him discount that. I do. I mean, his tweets and all this, I don't take him seriously. All right? What I take seriously is what he tells me and what I can see in the policy realm. I take that very seriously. What he does at 3 a.m. on social media doesn't matter to me at all. But
I'll just tell you real quick. When he says he doesn't take his tweets seriously, it's what he tells you. I mean, his tweets is him telling you. I mean, he's literally fired people via tweet. So I don't know. And this is typical you hear from a lot of Trump supporters, is that you shouldn't pay attention to his tweets. Don't be a snowflake and all of this stuff. I don't know when, other than since the Trump era, have we ever had a president over 350 million plus people where the citizens were being told, don't listen to what he says. That has never happened before, where the people were actually being told to ignore what comes out of the president's mouth. That to me still, not only is it baffling, it makes no fucking sense. If you're in control of 307 million people, what you say matters. MAGA's been trying to convince folks from day one to just don't listen to him. That'll make you better off. How about trying to don't say this shit? Now, he started out by saying Trump totally rejects woke. You know, while that is probably true, but the problem is I still have yet to understand what the definition of woke actually is. Because I'm under the impression that equality is being viewed by some as being woke. Equality for marginalized communities is being viewed as woke. I don't know I'd have to ask folks on the right, what is woke to you? What does that actually mean? Because everybody has a different definition of it. I was under the impression that woke is the opposition to sleeping. Don't sleep on this. You need to be woke. You need to see this. You know, that's what I was under the impression of. Woke is the opposition to being sleep. So I don't know what woke means other than it sounds to me like in some areas it's against equality and shit like that. So whether it's equality for the LGBTQ community, Hispanics, blacks, minorities, women, because in most cases, if you talk to one of those communities, blacks, Hispanics, women, LGBTQ, and you ask them, how is America, in your opinion, unfair to your community? If they have an answer, whatever that answer is, Trump is going to disagree with it. Doesn't matter what it is. If you ask a member of those communities, how do you think America's unfair or discriminatory or mistreating your community? If they have an answer to that question, Trump is going to disagree with that answer. That's what I believe anti-woke is. It's kind of like anti-them. But I'll leave you guys in the comments to tell me. Keep them nice and low. I don't know what that means, Johnny. Now because Trump made them save the water. I don't know. Why do I picture a short, fat, gelatinous woman and pimples on her ass? Okay, I don't know what you're getting at. Liberal and not unless you be saying some wild shit. Don't know what that means. But I'll tell you this also in regards to him stating that he doesn't care about what Trump does at 3 a.m. on social media. That's also very common from coming from the right, coming from MAGA. Yeah, I don't care what his tweets are. I care about what he does for America, not what he says on social media. I've said this before today, and I've said it many times in the past. The reason MAGA doesn't care about the insulting tweets and stuff that Trump sends out, it's not aimed at him. It's easy not to care about something when it's not aimed at you. I said it earlier. If Trump was Kamala, Biden, Reagan, well, I won't say Reagan or Bush, but if he was a left-wing politician, but he was doing everything that Trump is doing for the economy, tariffs, border, if he was doing all the same shit that Trump is doing, that the right likes, but he was constantly online sending out all kinds of insulting shit about Christians and gun owners, they wouldn't ignore it. And if they tell you they would, they're lying about it. It's easy to ignore Trump's tweets because they're not aimed at you. He's only attacking liberals, liberal principles, liberal causes, liberal politicians, liberal celebrities. Yeah, you can ignore that shit all day. It's like I mentioned earlier, it's like sitting at a comedy show and the comedian is making jokes about somebody in the front row. Yeah, it's easy to laugh at that, but if you're in the front row, it ain't funny no more. That's the difference. Is he's attacking somebody? In fact, I will tell you this, it appears as if the whole spiel, the whole plot of the Trump administration is kind of like that. Whereas he can do any damn thing he wants as long as he ain't doing it to me. Even a lot of these Hispanics, among the Cubano community, among the Venezuelan community that voted for Trump, they had the same mindset. You can do anything you want as long as you don't do it to us. That's the only time it starts to become a problem is when it starts happening to them. But it was totally okay. You got, what is his name, Paul Ryan or whatever the case may be, who was recently uninvited to some kind of congressional party. Now he's online. He's pissed off about it because he had invited his kids. You supported Trump. You were totally okay with all of this until he uninvited your ass. Now you got a problem with it. That's where the issue is. Everybody's okay. You can do whatever the hell you want to do to folks. Just don't do it to me. And then when it starts happening to you, now it's a problem. That's where I think we are standing right now. Is it's okay. I don't care how brutal it is. Like what the sheriff talked about with the protesters, running people up. You think if MAGA was out protesting mask mandates and stuff like that, you think that what this sheriff said, they would agree with it? About how you can shoot somebody if they're throwing rocks and all of that. All of the folks that were bear spraying cops and pepper spraying cops and using people's shields and shit on January 6th. You think they would have been okay with this cop talking like that then? It's okay as long as you don't do it to me. That's what people are dealing with right now. Is that everybody's okay with things no matter how heinous it is, as long as it ain't happening to somebody that they know, care about, or happens to be. Paul Ryan is a rhino. He is actually a globalist. I don't know what that's got to do with uninviting him to a congressional party, though. Tim, can you explain why MAGA is afraid of everything or scared of everything? Would they still be scared of everything without his tweets? I don't think the tweets are causing fear with MAGA at all. They're, I don't know what the name is there, but I don't think MAGA is scared of everything. I think MAGA is untrusting of a lot of, they don't trust government, they don't trust the media. I think it's more of a fact. I don't think they're scared. The vaccines we could talk about, but I don't think it's a problem with MAGA. Brags about all of the pew-pews they got all the time. They talk about fucking run and find out. I don't think it's that MAGA's afraid. I think it's MAGA does not trust anybody but Trump. I made the statement earlier on one of the other lives. Elon Musk finding all this waste, fraud, and abuse. He didn't have to prove shit. He works for Trump. That was good enough. Billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse. You got memes all over the damn place. As opposed to hating Elon for firing people and finding all this waste, fraud, and abuse, why don't you hate the people that are actually being wasteful and fraudulent? That's what the right was saying. Total trust in Elon. He's on there with the chainsaw. They're cheering it on. Thank God he's firing all these inefficient federal workers for lack of performance. Hasn't seen any proof at all that they actually lacked performance. They were totally trusting of Elon. The minute that man said the reason Trump is not giving us the Epstein list is because he's on it, they stopped trusting him. He ain't did shit. All he did was criticize Trump. That alone was enough to remove all his credibility. Suddenly he'd be, well, you know, he just fluffing or whatever you guys want to call it. What did he do? You were trusting him yesterday, you don't trust him today. How did that work? All he did was criticize Trump, and his credibility just went completely away. So when I say that I think the issue with MAGA is they don't trust government, they only trust Trump, I don't think there's anyone right now that MAGA trusts, from J.D. Vance to Steve Bannon to Marco Rubio, that if Trump had a problem with them, they would lose credibility tomorrow. All of those folks. If Trump had a problem with J.D. Vance, we would stop trusting J.D. Vance. If Trump has a problem with Marco Rubio, he becomes untrustworthy. He controls the purse strings on who MAGA trusts. I don't know hardly anyone among the Republican Party, conservatives, rhinos, previous presidents, you name it, that are conservatives. Get the liberals out of the picture. I understand they don't like Trump. That's understandable. We're talking about people who have led the Republican Party, from Romneys to the McCains to the Bushes to the Reagans. We're talking about people that were well-established, damn near heroes in the Republican Party. The minute you criticize Trump, credibility gone. They were going to put Romney in as president. They were going to put McCain in as president. They actually did put George W. Bush in as president. The minute you criticize Trump, credibility gone. You don't need to do anything else. Nothing. You wake up in the morning, you say something bad about Trump, credibility gone. I don't know how we got there. I don't know how to explain that, but that is the way it is. The minute you criticize Trump, not one member of the Republican Party that is critical of Trump has credibility. Pence, Barr, Scaramucci, all of these folks from the past, none of them. The minute you criticize Trump, gone. Looking at the comments, I would vote to get him out of office. Vance brother identified Minnesota shooting. What? Vance Bort, what is his name? Vance. Are you saying they have? Okay, I got News Nation on behind me. So they have identified the person that has taken the life of those politicians in Minnesota. Well, shit, I need to know more about them. I can't play it. I don't want to play it on the program for copyright purposes, but I'm real curious now. Let me see if I can find a. So they have identified them. I want to see a picture. Well, we know it's a white male that was posing as police. They did say that, but I want to see a photo of him, because did they catch him or did they just identify him? His name is Vance Boelter, Boelter. Who was Nancy? Oh, that's never mind. Okay, so yeah. Oh yeah, they actually do. Looks like they do have a picture of him, and he looks like a. Let me get this out of the way. He appears to.
News just into the newsroom. Thank you so much for your reports. We understand AP is now naming a suspect in this case. They're saying it was 57-year-old Vance Boelter. And again, that is coming from the AP, relying on their sources. And NBC and the AP are two sources that we usually feel comfortable sharing what they're reporting as vetted to a level that is accurate.
The ongoing investigation.
Here's the picture. That's who, he's 57. Man, he looks like a true blue patriot, does he not? There is your alleged suspect. 57, and you involved in this shit? 57. But there is who your alleged killer is of those two politicians in Minnesota. Nice crew cut. He looks like a true patriot, does he not? We have a bunch of fucking clowns running our country. Wow. Most of the folks that Trump fired usually come out on their own attacking Trump before Trump ever says anything bad about them. And that's true, but just because you say something bad about Trump don't mean you should lose credibility. I get that if you say something bad about Trump and you're on his administration, I can't have you working for me when you're bad-mouthing me. I get that part, but that don't mean what you're saying about me is not actually true. I mean, you shouldn't lose credibility for criticizing the guy. That's a big difference. But there's your guy there, white male identified, released quick. Come on now, you gonna tell me that if a black person took out two politicians, they would hesitate to release the act? No, it would come out. It would absolutely. I mean, look, he's on the loose. When all of those escapees got out of the jail in Louisiana, they put their pictures up there real quick. I mean, he's a fucking killer on the loose. Yeah, they gonna put it. Wait, you think they gonna hesitate? Because of the skin color? No, you got to put that out there. Dude spent 3 years in Congo, came back looking for a government job. While appointing him seems like a CIA asset. We'll find all of that out, but he don't seem like a liberal, I'll tell you that much. I assume members of the CIA work for... There are CIA MAGA, CIA liberals. This ain't a liberal. This guy here, not to quote... what is the guy's name? Cat Williams. This shit right here, this ain't no liberal. I can guarantee you that. I guarantee you this guy is going to turn out to probably be heavily involved in politics. 57. I mean, Gen X, that's kind of the age we are. Some of us Gen X folks who are deeply involved in politics. I guarantee this dude probably got a social media platform, probably been on some back pages, you know what I'm saying? Some of those dark web shit. He's probably going to have a profile that's going to come out that this guy had a hardcore beef against them for some legislation they passed or something of that nature. I mean, he probably doesn't, I'm not speculating here. He probably doesn't like the Democratic Party, but he might even have something directly tied to those two people. Maybe they tried to pass legislation in Minnesota for something. I highly doubt they wanted to increase property taxes. He didn't want to pay more. No, I doubt if it's something like that. It's going to be something stronger. Maybe they were voting in favor of putting tampons in the men's bathroom. Something like that. Real quick, looking in the comments, they're just liberals, left-wing lunatics. White supremacists, pale-faced Caucasian. Damn. All praises to you. God. And Ice Cold says the killer is a Democrat as usual. I don't believe that. I don't believe this guy's going to be a lib. If it is, I'll come on and say it. I'll concede the point. I doubt it. I doubt if this guy's going to be liberal. This shooting happened in Wall State and most likely paid this guy millions just to try and... What? Police Care Reaction says this shooting happened in 10 Wall State. That's true. And most likely paid this guy millions just to try and win the midterm elections. I guarantee that he doesn't get caught unless Bondi gets involved. They got his fucking picture there. He's going to be brought in. He may not be brought in conscious. He's going to be caught. I mean, you can't get a better picture than that. Like, damn it, do I have to zoom in even more? He's going to get caught. This guy's not going to... he has family and everything. This guy's going to get caught. Probably was easy to release who he was because they had the car. He fired at police officers and took off running, and they had the car. He drove to the scene, so he probably got fingerprints and DNA in that vehicle that they were easily able to tie to him. So, I mean, they know either who owns the vehicle or it came up stolen. I mean, damn near everybody got ring cams and shit like that. It's hard to move through a neighborhood without being caught on camera somewhere. It's just really difficult. It's certainly in a major city. I mean, you might be to get away with it on some farm somewhere. If these guys lived in the middle of rural Wyoming somewhere, you might. But in a major city, on a city block, it's hard to make any moves without something catching you on camera. And here we go. They got him. Somebody said the usual suspect. Anytime you see African Americans acting crazy, mob robbery at a CVS or, fighting with police, you see in the comments on any of those videos, it's always the usual suspects. It's in their culture. That's what you see on the videos. Anytime you see black folks acting. I see in the comments, Teddy Owens said in this case, it's the usual suspects. All right, looking in the comments though, Jesse Smollett is white in a black body. He loves MAGA. And Jesse Smollett is old news. Look, the guy got caught trying to make a lie, and he lost his whole acting career behind it. I mean, he was punished. He didn't get away with that. Are you African or American? Never been to Africa. Hopefully he doesn't hurt anybody else. Well, he got nothing to lose at this point. because he committed. I mean, look, Tim Walz is going to charge his ass with a state crime. You already got Trump administration threatening to pardon the killer of George Floyd. You can't depend on Trump to actually enforce the law if a Democrat is the victim. So you got Trump. You got the Trump administration already talking about pardoning the killer of George Floyd. So Tim Walz is going to make sure this guy faces some serious state charges. Fuck around and let Trump end up pardoning him. I don't think it's a federal case behind it anyway, though, because these are state politicians that were slaughtered in a state. I mean, I don't think there's anything about this federal. Maybe, but there's certainly there are plenty of state crimes to get them on. So I think Tim Walz probably needs to make sure that the state piles it on. I mean, you just never know. This dude may have made a contribution to MAGA, and Trump might feel sympathetic that he was overcharged or that the jury was skewed. You just gotta, I mean, because he's talking about getting involved in a P. Diddy case. You gotta watch out. Dude was appointed to a job helping undocumented people get health care. There was recently a vote to revoke, wait a minute. Gary B says he was recently appointed to a job helping undocumented people get health care. There was recently a vote to revoke funds for it. He is a Democrat. No. Let me just say it this way. In a state like Minnesota, in a city like Minneapolis, in an area like Brooklyn Park where this happened, and I think that's kind of the same area where George Floyd's deal happened at. Even if you're right in suggesting that they were recently trying to revoke getting undocumented people health care, that ain't something that would have been done in that area by liberals. So even if he is a liberal, which makes no sense at all, his beef with, you're not going to see liberal politicians even doing what you just said. That's going to come from the right. If they're trying to get rid of health care and all this shit from undocumented, that's stuff the right is doing. It would make no sense for them to go take out two damn liberals. Supercell Fusion says Trump ain't shit. This is the guy they're saying that shot up everything, but he looks like a right-wing political person. By the way, update, he is an FBI supervisor. That's what they're saying. Wow. So you know something I said early in the program when they were suggesting that he impersonated a cop to go commit these crimes? I asked the question, how do we know he was impersonating one? He's got the car. He's got the gear. There are plenty of polarized police officers. You saw them on January 6th, letting them in to protest, as they call it. There are plenty of polarized police officers. Why would we assume he was impersonating a cop? He might actually be one. So what you're saying is that it's turning out, you're saying that he had a leadership position in the FBI? It's news to me. I haven't heard it, but like I said, there is a possibility that he was not impersonating law enforcement. He may have been law enforcement. George Floyd was killed in 38th. Okay, yeah. I bet he's a diehard Republican, probably even a KKK member. I would bet he has a social media platform. I would bet he's Googled a few things we need to know about. Listen, something happens to you where the law is investigating you. You got a phone. Well, if you got a computer, laptop, tablet, but definitely a phone. Phones nowadays are like carrying your diary around with you. You know how a young kid have a diary, everything about them they put in there, how they felt during the day, who they were dating. A phone nowadays is like a diary. I mean, you could, if once this level of civilization moves on, if they find the phones, you can find a lot out about how we lived and what we did. And I mean, your phone is like literally carrying a diary around with you. And right now, under the Trump administration, if you travel internationally, don't have a diary on you. In my opinion, if you were going to travel internationally, I would suggest you find a local Emory or what is it called? DHL, FedEx. Find a FedEx office in the country you're leaving and mail your phone back to you at the house. And go through customs without it. I'm just going to suggest that. Certainly if you lean left, if you're progressive, if you're critical of Trump, you're traveling internationally. I don't care if you're a fucking American citizen. I would suggest you mail that phone and not even travel with it. Now, it's just the risk is too great at this point. The lack of accountability is too high at this point. If all of a sudden You go through customs, and for whatever reason imaginable, you end up being detained for a month or two. You just gonna get detained for a month or two. Nobody's gonna give a fuck about you. So give them an excuse. Nobody's gonna stop them at this point. So I would certainly advise, if you're traveling internationally, don't even take the phone with you. Or, if you can blanket all the way to factory settings, maybe. I'm not even for certain the cloud is safe anymore. I'll put it in the cloud and then download it when I get where I'm going. I'm not even sure that's safe anymore. I would just suggest don't have it on you. It's out of sight, out of mind. They can't accuse you of something you don't have on you. Because if they take your phone from you and go through it and it's clear, that's a red flag. Why the hell ain't nothing in here? I mean, we can show records that you've owned this phone for 8 months. There ain't nothing in here at all. We don't believe that. Nobody buys a smartphone and not have an email address, because you have to have an email address to operate it, but you don't have a social media page or nothing. Nobody believes that. I wouldn't carry it with me. Vance Luther Bolton, the alleged shooter, was a former official government appointee by Tim. Who he was appointed to is kind of irrelevant. I mean, bringing up that he was appointed by Tim Walz. I mean, how many judges are ruling against Trump that were appointed by him, and folks are saying the judge was biased? I mean, Trump had like 60 court cases against him claiming he won the 2020 election. A lot of those were his own appointees. How many folks on the right do not like Amy Coney Barrett because she's ruling against him in the Supreme Court? He appointed her. So the appointee, that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. Because people can be radicalized. Trump used to be a Democrat. So just because Tim Walz appointed somebody doesn't mean they couldn't change for some reason or another. My question is, where are these people's security details? I don't think state politicians have them. I don't think state politicians have security details. Certainly if you're not a state politician that's known for doing really controversial shit. What was the astronaut's wife that tried to Gabbard, what was her name? Not Tulsi Gabbard, Gabby Giffords. Back in Arizona about a decade ago, some guy walked up and shot her in the head with a 9. I mean, Congress people don't usually have a whole lot of security. I mean, and I would assume somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Bulwark has a lot of security. When you're doing really controversial shit and getting in fights all the time, you need it. But when Trump got in there, he took away security details for people who were like Ambassador Bolton. He took away his security detail. He took away his security detail for Hunter Biden. I mean, he took away people's security details. Kind of sound like he was hoping for violence for some people. Supercell Future says that now you see this as a federal issue now because he is a federal agent, so they have to get involved. I don't think the feds though, just because you are a federal agent, if you go and rob a liquor store, I still think you can be charged state. I don't think just because you're a federal agent, it means you cannot be charged in state court. He committed a murder on the streets of Minneapolis. I mean, that's a state crime. So if Trump tried to step in and use the federal government to prevent them from charging him with a state crime, man, that would look bad. I don't think that's what's going to happen, though. I think look, Trump is pardoned and spoke favorably of some people that people view as bad, but you can't get involved in this one. You think Trump would get involved in this at all? I don't think. You can't get involved. I mean, he murdered 3 people in cold blood. You can't get involved in this one. I mean, then again, he talking about getting involved in a P. Diddy case, and that guy sounded like he done raped a few people. He was unemployed as of a month ago. Probably fired recently from a government job. Yeah, that could have happened. They're showing other pictures of him. He's a true patriot looking guy. Crew cut. He looks like a true patriot. He really does. We'll see what happens. I don't think Trump's going to get involved in this one, though. Yeah, was he a federal agent for sure? I don't know, Depot. I don't know if he was actually a member of the federal government. I got videos here. I don't want to play them for copyright purposes in regard, but there's plenty of stuff on YouTube now saying that he was identified. I'm just trying to see if anything would tell actual profession of the guy. I'd be curious to know that, but I don't want to.
First year
Just how
in the
to
program, I was promoted to a
let's see
supervisor
here. I just
position.
want to see real
He went
quick.
back.
The New York Post is now reporting that Dr. Vance Bulte, a former appointee of Tim Walz, may be the shooter who ended up killing a Minnesota representative, her husband, and shooting a state senator in Minnesota and his wife. Here's a picture of, quote, a face of a madman per the New York Post. Some very limited Googling provides us a little bit of context on who this person is so far. If
Real quick, for anybody want to know about him, Dr. Vance, I mean, you can Google this and probably get quite a bit on him yourself. Dr. Vance Boelter, Boelter. He does have EDD there, so I don't know. That's his education credentials. He has on here as a CEO of Red Leon Group based in the Democratic Republic of Congo. He is also a CEO of Creighton Guard Security Services. I guess that says based in Minnesota. He was majored in international relations for his undergraduate degree. Okay, he's a educated guy. I mean, he really threw a lot away. Wow. But you can look him up. Vance Boelter, EDD. I don't know what those educational credentials mean. E period, small d period, capital D. I don't know. I see the comments. Johnny 11 says dim on dim crime. He's looking a little bit less Republican based on his resume. I'll give you that. Improving because he went to the Congo. Look, going to the Congo and doing any work in the Congo is about as anti-Republican as you can come. You think the Republicans give a damn about anybody in the Congo? I'm just going to tell you, be honest with you. The Republicans, you're not going to likely find many Republicans willing to do, not pro bono, what's the word I'm looking for? Volunteer services, whatever. You're not going to find many Republicans willing to go over there and do that unless somehow it furthers their career or something like that. So that part sounds Democratic as hell. Remember Trump and the Republicans just happily got rid of USAID, which was helping a lot of them people. So the Republican Party don't really give a fuck about those folks over there. So that does make him sound a little bit more Democratic. He looks military. He did say he was part of a security firm. So look him up. You can see what you can find out. Anyhow, you guys, I got to step away. You know how the program is ran. We don't block, ban, or censor. Looks like the parade will go on. Looks like the protests are going on. And hopefully no more nefarious actions take place. He left a hit list with representatives of government Tim Walz. Says Johnny 11. Yeah, wait, it is looking like he may be a little bit less Republican. I've been doing a live for the last few hours, so I got to look into it when I get off of here. But it would shock me because I think the expectation after taking out 2 Democratic lawmakers is this dude would be MAGA. A Democrat, huh? I got to look into it. Humanitarian work, that's the word you're looking for. Yeah, humanitarian work. You're not going to find a whole lot of Republicans willing to go to third world minority countries and do humanitarian work. That is exactly the word I was looking for. Yeah, that ain't something that makes him look more Democrat. The fact that he did that, because the Republican Party is America first, me, going overseas and doing that kind. They might do it if it happened in France. I mean, they a little bit more concerned with them, maybe. Anyhow, appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for the 70,000 likes. If you favor this type of dialogue from all sides of the aisle, I ask you one last time, follow the program if you're watching on Instagram or TikTok. Give your boy a subscription if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. It's your boy Tim. Monday through Fridays we're usually here. We may be here again tonight. If things get really bad, certainly we'll be here, but otherwise we'll be here tomorrow. See you then. Thanks for tuning in. And appreciate you folks that are on YouTube horizontal.